hate you.
You're taking this very personal.
Hello, this is Albert Kaida from Taliban Records inviting you American infidel to buy latest Cat Stevens collection.
You know Muhammad is right. Let's take your head off your body. Got a machete with a real sharp blade. How I wish I had an American hostage. Make those infidels pay.
Also including this classic.
I was on the airplane and suddenly was detained. They're mad 'cause I converted and wear a towel on my head. I'm being followed by an F-16. What do they want with me?
The money from your purchase does not go to fund terrorism, really.
It's not time to get off the plane. Just relax and take it easy. You're just dumb, that's your fault. It wouldn't happen if I were a Jew. Fine dark skin and a rag if you want a detainee.
Another variation on a classic.
I ask myself every day which American should pay. Tell me, who would Muhammad slay? I'm cutting through the neck of a woman. She lifted her veil and exposed herself.
So buy new Cat Stevens collection today for $19.95. Or you can pay with Visa, MasterCard, or weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, don't you feel safer now that they're getting hardened terrorists like Cat Stevens? People that sing songs like Peace Train.
Right.
People to raise money for the families of 9/11 victims. Dangerous people. He's back in London right now, chuckling and amused and just amazed. More bad news from Iraq. In spite of what that Alawi schmuck, that stooge, was just peddling to the Congress. Three U.S. soldiers die in Iraq. 3 U.S. Army soldiers were killed in separate incidents in northern Iraq yesterday. One soldier was killed by a roadside bomb about 3 miles south of Tikrit. Spotted a suspicious object at the side of the road, and come to find out was a bomb. And the bomb detonated killed a soldier. Another one died of wounds following an attack on a patrol in the northern town of Mosul, and a third soldier killed when a car bomb exploded near a traffic control point in Baghdad. But other than that...
Oh, we're fine.
Everything is...
You sure about that?
In fact, I thought that Alawi was going to start singing, "Everything's coming up roses," but he didn't
Everything's blowing up roses.
Right. Everything's blowing up roses. Well, there's one for Boca Brian. I love that. Now, the poll that we took yesterday, before we get to Hurricane Gene, which unfortunately, all these keep making a comeback. God is pretty pissed off about that whole 2000 election, and that's why he keeps aiming at Florida. And sometimes he's got good aim, and I don't know what he's pissed off at New Orleans for, but Ivan keeps going back in that general direction again, too. If we missed some of you the first time, he's going to, send it back at you. But before we get to that, yesterday's poll, which evidently our fearless leader, took some umbrage to the poll yesterday because he keeps forgetting this is just A, a radio show, and B, that the audience out there needs an opportunity to vent. In fact, I'm getting hostile faxes every day, including one we just got from Geraldine, which I'll get to eventually. There are a lot of very furious listeners out there, so we have to at least give them a place to vent. And this is business, and this guy's taking it personal, which I don't understand. You'd think that after all this time, after 7 years of this, by now he'd be immune to it, but, every now and then he gets a bad bowl of grits, and it gives him, whatever. Our poll yesterday, we got a tremendous response. Who's gotten screwed the worst at QAM was the poll question. What's that?
What's what?
That phone ringing. Do you hear that?
I'm faxing.
Do you hear that? What is that?
Not on your end.
What the hell is that? Anyway, 1800... You can't hear that?
No, man.
I saw that movie Gaslight.
Crank
okay, you're not...
Josh, you hear anything? No.
Yeah, you're full of crap.
Okay.
Who's gotten screwed worse at WQAM? 1,889 votes when I printed this out. I'm sure it's closer to over 1,900 now. Neil's listeners, 506. Many of them are frothing at the mouth. And for some of them, they've been doing that for a long time. Hank Goldberg, 462. And this, I guess, is the week that we find out, is the humper coming back? Is he in limbo? Is he getting paid? Is he getting laid? Well, whatever the deal is. Joe Rose, 238. Joe and Mark, 168. Bill Zimfer, 148. Boy, we sure missed the Z-Man. Jeff DeForest, 121. And by the way, Jeff, no, you're not getting hired. Neil Rogers, 63. George Rodriguez, 55. Joe Angel, 46. I would like to clarify, that should have been with an asterisk, because Joe Angel never worked for QM. He worked for the Marlins organization, the former incarnation of the Marlin organization under John Henry. John Henry's the one that screwed poor Joe Angel. Bad. So that we could hire Dave O'Brien full-time, who then about 5 minutes later said, "Oh, guess what? I'm going to ESPN. Is that okay?" And they said, "Well,
okay,
sure." Mo Howard David at 35 votes. Steve Geldstein, who, like I said, was in there this morning, bemoaning the fact that the NHL season probably gone for the whole thing. 24 for Geldy. Joe Zagacki, 13, and Miguel Escobar. Nobody has any idea who that is, but they do hope he's got some good drugs. 10 is what he had. Now, we don't have to do that last break, right? I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
You can if you'd like.
But we
don't have to. No, you don't have to.
I don't want to. Why do we want to inflict extra spots on the audience that have already run once, okay? Once you start giving it away, that's what Screw Ann told me. Once you start giving it away, the idea that somebody's going to pay you for it is pretty ludicrous. In fact, the idea that anybody's going to pay... Well, anyway. Here's the tracking map. Now, we got the 11 o'clock coming out momentarily. It might be up there already, you think? Is it on our website? I doubt it.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I'll go to the NOAA thing during the break. So actually, we have like a little, even though Howard went pretty long this morning, we got like a nice long segment till about 12 minutes after 11 now, so we can like bond and cruise and schmooze.
Chit-chat.
Right. Now, where's that Hank legal ID thing? I don't want you to play it. I want to...
That's under Hank-ID.
Oh, it's under... Oh, I see. It's under ID.
WQAM, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Thank you, Humper. See, we're keeping him alive. Not by much, but keeping him alive on this show. Hurricane Jean, which is making a comeback, is now moving west, and the tracking map has it coming. I'm sure that the weather fairies have got you hyperventilating again. When the hell is this crap going to stop? I'm looking out my window, and, man, it's sunny. It's going to be like 83 today. It's just beautiful Indian summer here in Toronto, eh? No hockey. And, of course, you don't play hockey in the summer anyway, so it's appropriate. The 8 a.m. I don't want to read this. Do I, the 8 a.m.?
Why not?
Well, no, because the 11 a.m. is coming out in a minute. In fact, if I wanted to be not so lazy, I could click on right here, search the web. I could read it off the computer. I do want to put the audience on notice that we had a little technical before the show this morning. You know how we've been having this problem with the processor and it's getting ready to blow out. And they keep taking their sweet time and sending a new one or whatever they're going to do. And as a result, we had like this louder than ever in the processor. And I wasn't even speaking at the moment, so it kind of like set me aback. So
or pounding.
No, I wasn't doing anything. And as a result, I just want you to be on notice that if it goes out, we'll have to like punt. At any rate, let's see. National Oceanic and Atmospheric, better known as NOAA, because he built a hell of an ark. It smelled like crap on there, but he built one hell of an ark. Okay, let me click on the latest and the greatest on the hurricanes and all these acts of God, who's pretty, like I said, PO'd, and Florida better not do it again. Oh, speaking of do it again, I can't find it. Okay, anyway, let's see what we got. Let's check out if we got the... There it is, Pubic Advisory, 11 a.m. How do you like that? Good timing today. Thanks a lot, Howie and Robin and all you others. Next time, try about 11:15 tomorrow would be good. I sure hope that they're not going to do too many more of those best of shows that end like at about 10:02. Not good. Not good. Okay, here's the deal. The 11 a.m. advisory on Jean. A tropical storm watch remains... Oh, now what is that? What did you just do to me? Oh, I did that. Wow.
I was going to say, I'm just sitting here looking
remains
at
in effect for the... Well, keep you on your toes. For the Central Bahamas, including Cat Island. Oh, I wonder if that's Cat Stevens Island. I bet you there's a lot of terrorists hiding out there. The Exumas, Long Island, Rum Cay, and San Salvador. Tropical storm, well, we know what it means. Hurricane watch may be required for the northwestern Bahamas later today. Those poor bastards in the Bahamas are really getting nailed, you know what? That'll teach them to keep ripping off the Americans. Bastards. At 11 o'clock, the center of Hurricane Jean was located near latitude 25.6 north, longitude 69.7 west, about 465 miles east of Great Abaco Island. Well, they got nailed the last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
By Ivan. They're going to get nailed again. Damn it. Jean is moving toward the west near 5 miles an hour. It ain't moving too much. Maximum sustained winds near 105 miles an hour with higher gusts. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 45 miles. Estimated minimum central pressure 966 millibars. And that's it. Now let me take a look at see if they changed the tracking map, which I'm sure they did. Maps and charts, okay?
Okay.
I said charts, Joyce. She gets nervous. Anything that rhymes with farts. Okay, let me click on that baby and take a look at what it looks like right now. And, ooh, wow, I better not tell you. No, it just shows the thing moving directly west over the Bahamas and then moving slightly northwest and hitting Florida. What time is that? 8 o'clock on what day? Oh, Sunday. 8 o'clock Sunday morning is what they're predicting for, like, up there, not again, like around Fort Pierce, Vero Beach. So in case you poor bastards up there haven't had enough punishment, God's after... What have they done up there besides being a bunch of mugwumps all these years to deserve this punishment?
Isn't that enough?
I would think so. But that looks like where it's going. Of course, that big wide cone That cone of opportunity there, it includes almost all of the peninsula, the hanging down part of the state. But based on the latest tracking at 11 o'clock, it shows it heading right toward a little bit northeast of Lake Okeechobee. So that's the latest on that. We'll keep you abreast. You'll see the tracking maps keep changing on neilrogers.com, along with Pamela Sue Martin. Did I? Yes, I did. Pamela Sue Martin, born January 5th, 1954. Everybody knows Pamela Sue Martin, unfortunately, and that's a horrible picture, man.
Yeah, it is, but she's naked.
But in her case, like I said, it's a pretty good picture. She was born in Westport, Connecticut, so that makes her like 50, right? Yeah. Okay. If my math is correct, she's 50. Although the picture, luckily, was taken some while ago, although you never know it. It's not one of the most attractive things you'll ever see. We're not going to give you a big song to dance in Bill of Goods. It's the best she can do. Let's see. Sky Trackers, made for TV in 1990. A Cry in the Wild. The Software Murders the Saint on TV. A lot of TV stuff. Flicks, 1987. Strong Medicine, 86. Torchlight, 84. She was in Dynasty, of course. Mm-hmm. The Lady in Red, 79. Mm-hmm. Human Feelings, 78. The Hardly Boys, Nancy Drew Mystery, 77.
Everybody knows that.
The Hemingway Play, Our Time, Your Time, Buster and Billy, 74. The Gun and the Pulpit.
You're forgetting 74. Her most important role. She was the dead, naked body in the first Dirty Harry movie.
How come it's not on here?
Because she was just a naked body.
It wouldn't make any difference. It has every role. I think you're agreeing. Well, she was the dead, naked body? Well, take a look at that picture, and I think she didn't have to act too much. The Girls of Huntington House, 73, made for TV. The Poseidon Adventure, 72. The Poseidon Adventure. There you go, a movie that somebody actually heard of before. There she is, Pamela Sue Martin, because George has got to do some homework, come up with some better pictures.
Got lots of scouring to do.
Okay, here's a little deal. Look for the QM van right now at the Shell station in the corner of Broward and University. That's the corner of Broward and University. That's one of our frequent stops. It's right next to that veterinarian place that I stopped taking my dogs to. Stop by to pick up movie passes to watch Ladder 49 next week at the Fountains 8 Movie Theater. Ladder 49. What's that about?
Firemen, I would assume.
Oh, no.
Got Joaquin
here. Not the ones who keep sliding up and down them greasy poles, huh? That's what I hear.
They don't stay greasy for long.
Oh, and speaking of that, that's also what I hear. That's what Muff told me this morning. Falling crucifix kills woman.
Oh, my God.
This is in Rome. Remember yesterday I was talking about how wonderful Rome is?
Yeah.
Well, Rome is great, but don't be standing near any falling crucifixes because it might not be good for your health. A 67-year-old woman was killed when a 3-meter-tall metal crucifix fell on her head in a small southern Italian town on Wednesday, police said. The cross, which has been in the main square on San Onofrio for decades, fell on Maddalena Camillo, who, while workers were setting up lights for an annual religious festival. I'm sorry, her name is Maddalena Camillo, not Camillo, because that's Espanol. Excuse me. Scusi. Italy, home to the Vatican City, is a predominantly Roman. Oh, I see. Where crucifixes and religious icons and effigies are a common sight in most towns and villages. And it reminds me of that scene I was telling George before the show from, what was it? The Omen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Omen 1.
I think so.
Where the priest was freaking out and he kept trying to tell Gregory Peck, be careful because, bada beep, bada boop, and he's got the 3 6s on his head, like Greg Reed and all this other stuff. And at any rate, then the priest, the thing, that big metal, like a
lightning rod, weather vane thing.
Weather vane thing came flying off the top of that church and bada bing, right through the priest's heart, and he was morto. Had a whole bunch of faxes here, including. Now, I don't want Greg to be listening to these because he's starting to take things personal, which are just business. Okay, the audience wants to vent; they're entitled, even though you may disagree or maybe you do agree. But we are what we are. I think it's time for everybody to lighten it up just a couple of shades. Troy. Geraldine Plantation says, Jesus God, which I think she's trying to say,
oh, God.
What brainless schmucks are running that station? Now, again, please don't take that personal unless you want to. How much longer do we get to listen to Robin Reed? Enough already. My finger is worn out from turning the station on and off, ready to self-destruct in Plantation Side Geraldine. Well, what can I tell you, sweetheart? Just the QAM effing way. It's just the way we're doing things these days. And we're pretty pleased with this show today. 3 hours and 10 minutes sounds like a wiener to me, don't it?
We'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I do have tremendous sympathy and empathy and feeling and chaos and all that Rachmanis for the audience. But on the other hand, we like working as little as possible. I want to take back anything I said on Friday in that regard, where, in fact, if they want to pay us this kind of money for like 5 minutes a day, that sounds like a wiener to me. In fact, there's Geldy. Geldy, the bad news is we'll be back on the air very soon doing a couple of shows here and a couple of shows there in the evening when everybody's watching TV, luckily, and on the weekend when everybody's out having a life. Just as long as you don't have to work with Mo anymore. Well, you can't imagine the things he said about that. He said it took him a month of rehab after getting off of that show, but I don't want to go into that. I don't want to be a troublemaker again because then people start taking it personal, even though, of course, it's only business. Although I think between them it might have been a little bit personal.
Absolutely.
Anyway, here's the poll today. And again, we don't want to pick on the Dolphins because they are 0-2 and they are going to have a dreadful season. And everybody knows that. Dave Hyde just ripped them a hide the other day with a fabulous column. Just ripped them from pillar to post. So we're just going to ask you, what do you think? Who is most to blame for the Dolphins' sorry team? Don't you think that was I thought that was pretty generous the way I said that. Sorry team.
Yeah.
I could have said sorry-ass team or horseball team or pathetic. Right. But I said sorry team. And I'm sure that a lot of you are sorry. Jay Fiedler, Dave Wannstedt, H. Wayne Heisinger, A.J. Touchy-Feely, the offensive line, Mo Howard-Davided, Ricky Williams, I hate the Dolphins or I don't give a Schmidt. Let's see, I'm voting that one right there. How about those Patriots? Oh, yeah. I just mentioned that. See, that's called rubbing it in. That's like piling on. That's bad. 15 yards for piling on. Oh, look at that. We got a bunch of votes on there already. Now, I saw the Sun Sentinel had a similar poll, although not nearly as exciting or elaborate as ours, a couple of days ago, and Dave Wannstedt won that one hands down your pants. But isn't it the Wannstedt era? Maybe that's the problem, that it's the Wannstedt era. He's got the first 69 votes. Look at that number. Dave Wannstedt, 25. I don't give a Schmidt, 14. Wayne, 14. The offensive line, 6. Mo Howard-David at 4. I hate the Dolphins, 3. Ricky Williams, 2. A.J. Touchy-Feely, 2. And Jay Fiedler's only got 1. Oh, he didn't play at all in the game the other day. And is he just like vanished now, Josh? Is that the deal? We just ain't going to see him no more?
Yeah, probably.
No. Poor Jay. I think it's a Jewish thing. Anyway, here's one of our faxes this morning. We have a few. Oh, this one's too long. It says, here are some points for conversation, and this one too long. Goes on and on forever. Regarding the Pentagon video, ClydeLewis.com had that on his site a little bit over 2 years ago. Clyde is a newsman and talk show host out there in Portland, Oregon, who I had the pleasure to meet through another reliable radio friend, it says. Part of the reason those films by the DOT and others in the area that day were confiscated is because the general public doesn't have a need to know, according to your federal government. Yeah, isn't that what they said in that clip, right? Right. You don't have any need to know, so those DOT surveillance films that they were taking, they confiscated that tape because it's going to show you stuff that they don't want you to see, and the fact that there was no 757 that crashed into the Pentagon. But if you don't believe me, just take a look at that clip. It might at least make you think a little bit. Pentagon 9/11 on our NeilRogers.com. When you're through looking at Pamela Sue Martin and shaking your head in dismay like, oh, my, is that the best you can do? George will come up with some better stuff.
Yes,
trust me when I tell you. There's only about how many million?
About 30, man.
30 million of those websites with news celebrities. So we'll find some
we're
good
going
stuff.
for quality, you know.
Well, when's that start? Anyway, this fax says, yeah, during the summers of the late 60s, early 70s, while vacationing in northern Ontario, I was privileged to hear a dynamic radio in its heyday from an abundance of stations, including the great 1190. You're absolutely correct. WOWO, W-O-W-O-O, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Can't believe that you never heard of WOWO.
No.
Also, some of the other great signals used to skip through the night were WABC New York, WLS Chicago, WCFL Chicago, the voice of labor, WKBW Buffalo, how come he's leaving out WBZ in Boston, KDKA in Pittsburgh, WWVA in Wheeling, West Virginia, KMOX in St. Louis. But he also says 56 WFIL Philadelphia, and of course, the Big 8 CKLW. He also says, lastly, I wanted to mention this morning that I made a valiant effort to listen to the logic behind the dump fairy's motive. I don't want to go through all of that, okay? The dump fairy's under enough stress already. Leave her alone. Although he does say Joyce is truly objectionable. And also David Ross. Oh, very good, faxer, whoever you are. Now we got another fax that says, I can't believe I found this from a newspaper in Texas. This is from Dave in Cooper City, loyal listener for 14 years. He says, tell Greg Reed, thanks for ruining my drive to work. I leave my house at 10 a.m. and it takes me 45 minutes to get to work. I don't want to hear Howard ramble at the end of his show for 25 minutes. In other words, he would like to hear me in there instead, but guess what? We'll take it. But that's the way it goes, Dave. And he also includes this thing from the Amarillo Globe News, where they say, guest column by Jane Alexander, Globe News makes bad call endorsing Bush. I'll just read a little taste of it here. She says, in its September 12th edition, the Globe News endorsed George W. Bush for another term as president. I certainly wasn't surprised by this endorsement. However, the basis for it has me baffled. The endorsement was based on several claims. One is that John Kerry has a record of notorious flip-flopping. The editorial implies that George W. is a straight shooter. Problem is, my memory tells me something different. I recall a number of instances of Bush flip-flopping. In the 2000 debates, he told us he opposed nation-building and getting involved in the affairs of other countries, yet he invaded and is rebuilding both Iraq and Afghanistan. Bush garnered support to invade Iraq because he told us Saddam Hussein, and she goes on and on about all these things that we know. And he opposed the 9/11 Commission and embraced it. He refused to testify, then changed his mind as long as Dick Cheney sat on his lap, and all these things. Nice going, Jane, in Amarillo, Texas, wherever the hell you are.
Neil Rogers, exclusively on 560 QAM.
They'll hate you.
Absolutely.
Your vote's automatically calculated by computers at the GOP. Manipulated this time. Don't let the fascist neocons screw us again.
Oh my God.
The brother governor that's running Florida, no doubt's got another plan to get your vote done. This time don't let the fascist neocons screw us again. Let us in, plus the staffers in, Leon's white face is a man that you get in. Let us up, we don't live here. Let us in, we white happy men. Then goes triangle bush, twin shore look good, and Coulter snuggles my loins with gonorrhea. Jews kill Christ. The Jews kill Christ. Bush is appointed by God. Back, like a Pepsi crack. If you're darker than brown, then your vote will get thrown out. Brown back, except for an arm roll, swinging closet bags. Well, it won't matter who or what you vote, like it's rigged for Bush too. Winning a landslide this time, don't let the fascist neocons screw us again.
You know, we left Poker Brian off yesterday's poll, too, now that I think about it. He's probably got a few things he could toss in there. There's the unsung hero of the show, Poker Brian. I just got an inspiration for tomorrow's poll and the show.
All right, let's sing it.
I'll leave it up to him. No, seriously, he's got so many of them, including most of which we can still play because many of them he edited for us so that Joyce wouldn't get all bent out of shape. But I know we did it a long time ago. What's your favorite Poker Brian comedy bit? And we could play like most of them tomorrow, right?
Sure.
Because it is Friday, huh?
Right.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, that one right there, it's pretty tough. Pretty tough. I mean, I do like Mo Temple and Gildy Stevens a lot.
President Dumb
Schmidt, right. But this one here, I mean, just, I can't, there are no words to describe it. Plus, of course, Bye-Bye Gildy, bye-bye. I should have played that for him when he was in the studio this morning. I'm sure he's heard it over and over. He's probably singing it at the bars on the weekend, at the karaoke bars. But don't you think that, I think that's a really swell idea. Now, we should probably intersperse a call or two here because we got 2 hours and 41 minutes, not that I'm counting, till 2 o'clock. Let's see, the schedule shows Mad Dog at 2 and no Mo and no Humper today. How do you like that? So we don't have any controversy at 4? I think one of the reasons we didn't have Mo, that's probably why Geldy came in today. Because he knew that there was no Mo. They wouldn't run into each other in the hallway. That would be bad. Because Mad Dog 2 to 4. At 4, you got Hurricanes Game Day on QAM. Then at 6:30, Hurricanes Gay Day switches to Power 96.5 FM. And then Marlins on deck on QAM 6:30. You following all this? You writing it down?
No.
Phillies at the Marlins at PP Park. The poor Marlins, man, say bye-bye to the wild card, but they gave it a good shot. 7:05 tonight at the ballpark. The Houston Cougars, another girls' team at the Hurricanes on Power 96, 7:45. And Hurricanes Extra Point at 11:30 somewhere. And I'm sure the Marlin game should be over by then unless they go extra innings. So then they'll be on QAM unless, of course, whatever. Got it? 567-0560, pound 560 in the Verizon and Singular wireless lines. WQAM, hello?
The cone of death is aimed at us again. Is that
You're in it again, man. You got your plywood and your Visqueen?
I think it's gonna blow the plastic off my roof now.
There you go.
That's all I got left.
Or at the very least, that little, what do they call those things? Those wind, the little thing.
A weather vane.
No, not a weather vane. The little thing with the that spins around up there on the roof.
Oh, well, that's all part of the. There's like 3 or 4 different things that are on there that measure different things. That thing just spins around. I don't know the actual. The little thing that spins around with little cups on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. It's George knows what I'm talking about, like a vent thing on the roof.
Yeah. Those things get blown off too, and if you don't
I think
cover
it's called
those
the thing on the roof that spins around. Well, good luck to you, pal. Get your plywood and water. Stock up right now. Gene is coming. Ooh.
Good guy.
Man, oh man, so many good reasons not to be in South Florida. And of course, the leading foremost is you avoid those nasty hurricanes and the weather ones too. That's bad to be saying on the day when the Hurricanes are hosting the prestigious Houston Cougars, another girls team. WQAM, hello.
Neil.
Yes, sir.
Hi, you Harry?
WQAM, hello.
Hey, Neil, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Did you hear about the Marlin upcoming giveaway?
And what's that?
The Dave Van Boring bottle opener?
It's a good thing you didn't say the Dave Van Boring can opener. That would have been bad. Get out of here. That would have been really bad, wouldn't it?
It would have been, but funny.
And then, of course, Josh has got to sit next to him there. Now, has he ever made any comment? I doubt it, but has he ever said anything to you about this show or about the comments that are made about him?
Come on.
No. You liar. You should see the lion face.
No, come on. I mean, your nose is already about 2 feet long now and growing like Pinocchio.
It's coming through the window.
You can tell us. I can handle it. I got broad shoulders. I mean, Greg was all pissed off at me yesterday. Now it's going to be Dave Van Boring's turn today. I can handle it. I'm not an emotional cripple.
You know, we might have said a few things, but...
like what? Give us a sample. The audience would like to hear, like what?
That's not a big deal. He just laughs about it, good times.
So in other words, he's got a good humor about it. The fact that he's boring is all get out. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy. Everybody tells me he's a good guy, and he's got a beautiful wife and a bad hairpiece. Right? Am I right so far?
I'm sorry, what? This is definitely a visual thing.
Yeah. Oh, God. The rumor I heard is that the muskrat jumped off of Moe's head and hopped up and tried to mate with the one on Dave's head, but that could be just a rumor. Anyway, here's the poll. Let's get off of that. Oh, there's, what's her name again? That's, what is her name?
We have,
I don't know, but we like her.
Orland
we also
Sidney.
have Gene here. We have Carl, and then Tropical Storm Lisa. The latter two not going to affect the United States.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
The
Bye-bye,
former
Lisa.
two, however,
Bye-bye, Carl.
But
Gene,
next 72, 96 hours.
Gene, the dancing
still is
weather
Tropical
queen.
Storm. We have Tropical Storm.
Well, we don't care about Ivan. That's New Orleans. They're animals anyway. They're party animals anyway. Let them lose their souls. Here's the deal on the poll so far. The poor Dolphins, man. 184 votes. Question is, who is most to blame for the Dolphins' sorry team? And they really are sorry. Dave Wannstedt, 67. He's going to win hands down. It's the Wannstedt era. And it sucks. I don't give a Schmidt, 37. H. Wayne Heisinger, 22. The offensive line, 17. And they are offensive, man. I hate the Dolphins, 16. Ricky Williams, 12. He's busy smoking a wicked weed in Australia. Noel Howard David at 10. A.J. Feely, 2, and Jay Fiedler, 1. You notice how when Mo came to town, that's when everything started going downhill for the Dolphins?
Absolutely.
Oh, God. He put the Jets' curse on the team is what I believe. You're going to love this story. This is so amazing.
Wait.
The state... What?
Huh?
I thought you said wait.
No.
With a state patrol airplane overhead, a motorcyclist hit the throttle and possibly set the informal record for the fastest speeding ticket in Minnesota history, 205 miles an hour.
Oh, my God.
I mean, you talk about hauling ass and wasting gas. On Saturday afternoon, State Patrol pilot Al Loney, I wonder if he's kin to like Susan Loney and Cecil Loney, the harness drivers. State Patrol pilot Al Loney was flying near Wabasha in southeastern Minnesota, I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it, on the Wisconsin border, watching two motorcyclists racing along U.S. Highway 61. When one of the riders shot forward, Loney was ready with his stopwatch. He clicked it when the motorcycle reached a white marker on the road, and again a quarter mile later, the watch read 4.39 seconds, which Loney calculated to be 205 miles an hour. I was in total disbelief. It was unbelievable. Loney told the St. Paul Pioneer Press for Tuesday's editions, I had to double-check my watch because in 27 years, I'd never seen anything move that fast. Several law enforcement sources told the newspaper that although no official records are kept, it was probably the fastest ticket ever written in the state. After about 3/4 of a mile, the biker slowed to about 100 miles an hour and let the other cycle catch up. But then Loney, by then, had radioed ahead to another state trooper who pulled the two over soon afterward. Thank the Lord for that. The State Patrol arrested the faster rider, 20-year-old Stillwater resident Samuel Armstrong Tilley, for reckless driving without a motorcycle license, and driving 140 miles an hour over the posted speed limit of 165. Well, let's see, 140 times 5 is 700, right?
Okay. It's not
how much,
I'll take the word for it.
I'm looking in the story. It doesn't say anything about the amount of the fine, but isn't it like $5 for each mile over the speed limit?
Now, how the hell would I know? I call the ticket defense team.
Oh, right. Yeah, tell them to call the ticket defense team, although I think that would be like trying to defend the defenseless. Oh, speaking of that.
My speedometer was broken.
Speaking of that, amused Cat Stevens is back home. I'm going to play that bit again when we come back. That is just so sensational. The British recording artist Yusuf Islam returned to London Thursday, saying he was shocked and slightly amused, kind of like, yeah, slightly amused, after U.S. officials determined he was on a terrorist watch list and was not allowed to enter the U.S. of A. Islam, the peace activist and singer once known as Cat Stevens, said he was traveling to Nashville with his daughter for a recording session when he was approached aboard the flight into Washington, D.C. You know, I'll be honest with you, having been in Nashville that one ugly couple of years ago, the best thing that can happen to you is you get turned around and sent away. Suddenly we were forced to land, and suddenly I was being interrogated by all these FBI officers, he said, at a press conference at London's Heathrow Airport. The whole thing is totally ridiculous. Everybody knows who I am. You know, I'm no secret figure. Everybody knows my campaigning for charity and for peace. There got to be a whole lot of explanations. Hopefully there will be that. He says, I just hope they've made a big mistake. And the interesting part of this story is that he had visited the U.S. 20 times in the last year, and nobody ever said nothing.
Well, think of how much explosives he probably smuggled in.
God almighty, can you imagine all the people who are going to die because of those visits?
Listening to Neil Rogers exclusively on 560 QAM.
Did you ever think when you eat Chinese, it ain't pork or chicken but a fat Siamese?
Did you see this thing on Terry's Law and Terry Schiavo?
No.
Final ruling, the husband can remove the tube. Bye-bye, Terry.
Bye. The food tastes great so you don't complain, but that's not chicken in your chicken chow mein. Seems to me I ordered sweet and sour pork, but Garfield's on my fork. I'm here on my fork. There's a cat in the kettle at the Peking Moon, the place that I eat every day at noon. They can feed your cat and you'll never know. Once they wrap it up in dough, boys, they fry it real crisp in dough. Shaolin asked if I wanted more as he was dialing up his buddy at the old pet store. I said, not today, I lost my appetite. There's two cats in my belly and they wanted to fight. I was sucking on a roll-it and a Tums or two when I swear I heard it mew. And that is when I knew. There's a cat in the kettle at the Peking Moon. Think I gotta stop eating there at noon. They say that it's beef or fish or pork, but it's purring there on my fork. There's a hairball on my fork.
27 will do it at 560 WQAM. Happy Thursday to you. The good news is we got Cat Stevens, man, a hardened, dangerous terrorist, a would-be schmatahead. But the bad news is undercover investigators were able to sneak explosives and weapons past security screeners at 15 airports nationwide, according to a government report on aviation security. So they can't sneak in the cat, but they can sneak in una bomba grande and all these other good things. The government watchdog for the Department of Homeland Security, Clark Kent Irvin.
Get out.
That is his name. And when he takes off his glasses, he puts a cape on. Clark Kent Irvin delivered the results of the test in a classified report to members of Congress. The performance was poor, said Irvin, the department's inspector general, in releasing a less detailed version yesterday. The tests were done in the second half of 2003, but they highlight ongoing vulnerabilities in the nation's aviation security system, especially in detecting explosives such as those that Russian authorities say were used to bring down two airliners last month. Hey, anybody want to fly today or what?
No.
Representative John Micah, Republican of Florida, chairman of a House Aviation Subcommittee, confirmed that the longer classified report showed weapons and explosives got by screeners. He said the results on weapons were bad enough, but the results on explosives were, these are his words, absolutely horrendous.
Absolutely.
Horrendous. How do you like that? So we got Cat Stevens. An earlier report in 2003 by the GAO found that undercover agents were able to slip guns, knives, and box cutters past screeners. And it goes on about how we do this and we do that. Unfortunately, it may take some horrific wake-up call to get attention, Micah said. Clark Kent Irvin's report blamed poor training and management of the thousands of screeners who work for the TSA, Division of Homeland Security Department. Also cited the need for better equipment and technology. Maybe part of the problem is if they pay more attention to screening the bags instead of yucking it up with each other with the passengers as they're going through, they might really find something. Because I noticed that now it's back to the yuck. You see that? What's that? Yeah, that crap again.
Speaking of yuck,
Yes?
Did you get this story about Jimmy Swaggart threatening to kill gays? Is that on your pile?
No, I did not.
On its way.
You don't mean that philandering, phony, hypocritical Jimmy Swaggart?
I mean that good, God-fearing Christian. As a matter of fact, it's a local story, so I'm surprised you didn't see it. Local for you, Toronto.
Didn't see it. Oh, in Toronto. Well, we got a lot of crazy people here. So fax that along. Anyway, here's a fax from Chip, who's obviously a weather maven. He says not to be confused with the weather fairies. Regarding Gene, the models this morning show 3 coming into Palm Beach with a high sustained winds at 110 miles an hour, gusts much higher. Uh-oh. Only 2 models show this storm coming in at the Treasure Coast. The conflict is how fast or slowly Gene will be moving. Once it gets to the other side of 76 west, that's when the water gets 2 degrees warmer. Strike probability is 16% for both West Palm Beach and Fort Pierce on Sunday at 8 in the a.m. and yada, yada, yada. And also he says, Pamela Sue Martin, God. Well, you were doing real good till you got to that point, Chip, but I guess every squirrel finds a nut or something like that. How do you like that?
Telling Joyce.
There's some. Oh, I'm sorry. WQAM, hello.
Hello, is this Dion?
Yes, sir.
How you doing today?
Great.
You guys are doing great. I listened to you guys. I never really listened to AM before until Howard Stern came on there, but I listened to both of your shows.
Thank God for you, man. We love you.
And I think you guys are great. You guys need to get the new sound effects, man. New sound effects. You guys are doing good, though.
Okay, thanks, pal. Yeah, new sound effects. I'll pass that along to Joyce. He doesn't get it yet. We got 8 million sound effects, Pally. The only problem is we're not allowed to play them anymore because we have this uptight bitch over there in Fort Myers, Naples, wherever she's hanging out, and everything we want to play, everything we want to... Oh, we can't do that. Can't do that. The FCC... Oh, and speaking of the FCC, we'll get that a little later on with that fine. And I'm going to tell you once again, which is not a very promising thing, it's not just a right-wing thing or a left-wing thing. It's an everything thing. It's an American freaking thing because free speech is gone. And John Edelstein, who's one of the... one of the 2 Democrats on the 5-member FCC, he's the most rabid of them all. He thinks they should probably cut their things off at CBS. They can make that $550,000 back in a half a minute ad on the Super Bowl. That's no big deal. So if you think there's somebody out there from the left, from the right, from the middle, from up on top, from underneath, who's going to save our, forget about it. Ain't going to happen. Because America's in this deep, deep repression now. Anyway, evangelist Jimmy Swaggart threatens to kill gays. How do you like that? And, of course, you know what they say about people like that. Usually they turn out to be...
Blaming!
A Canadian television station has apologized publicly to viewers for a telecast of American evangelist Jimmy Swaggart's TV program in which he threatened to kill gays.
Oh, my God.
The program aired last week on Omni One. Oh, yeah, you want to hear Omni One?
All right.
Toronto multicultural station.
I was working for CBS at the time, too, because I was doing Family
That's the Tony Danza show they got on right now. So that proves how they really suck. Anyway, the program aired last week by Omni One, a Toronto multicultural station, and throughout the USA has also prompted investigation by the Canadian Radio Television Commission, CRTC, the government agency which regulates television. During the program, a rambling sermon by Swaggart, who's trying to rehab himself after an arrest for soliciting una prostituta, the televangelist turned to the subject of gay marriage. According to a transcript of the program, Swaggart said, I'm trying to find the correct name for this. It is utter, absolute, asinine, idiotic stupidity of men marrying men. I've never seen a man in my life I wanted to marry, and I'm going to be blunt and plain. If one ever looks at me like that, I'm going to kill him and tell God he died. The remarks were met with applause from his congregation. The program was taped at Swaggart's ministry in New Orleans, where voters Sunday agreed to amend the Louisiana Constitution to bar same-sex marriage. The CRTC investigation was prompted by a complaint by a viewer in Ottawa. It is not known if any complaints have been made in the USA, where the show appears on stations in all 50 states. A spokesperson for the FCC, which regulates TV in the U.S., did not return calls for comment Sunday. They're too busy with Janet Jackson's boobie, baby. They don't care about some phony, baloney, whoring minister out there preaching killing gays. Toronto station Omni One reviewed the tape after the complaint was made. A spokesperson called the remarks a serious breach of Canadian broadcast regulations, Omni One is owned by Rogers Communications, a conglomerate that controls the largest cable and cell phone companies in Canada, and also my cable company here, as a matter of fact, and also owns TV and radio stations and a publishing company. Under Canadian law, hate speech is a criminal offense. Broadcast lawyers say both the station and Swaggart could be charged in addition to any penalty imposed by the CRTC, yada, yada, yada. In 1987, in a tearful sermon, begged forgiveness from his followers after being found with a prostitute. Jimmy the phony Swaggart. Another Rush Limbaugh, if you ask me. Another phony baloney right-wing hypocrite. And the congregation gave him he looked at me, man. Right. By the way, Jimmy, I've seen you and I wouldn't look at you.
You're listening to Neil Rogers exclusively on 560 AM.
If you're out of work, why not lift yourself up and join the Jimmy Swaggart ministry? Right now, there are numerous openings you can fill by assuming a missionary position with Jimmy Swaggart. Transportation is provided. Jimmy will drive you around personally. You'll not only get hands-on experience, you'll get hands-all-over-you experience. Assume the missionary position right now, and you'll work directly under Jimmy Swaggart. After all, you already have something in common with Jimmy. You want a job, and he wants a job. Bless you.
My child. It's 11:45 at 560 WQAM. 299 votes on the poll. Who is most to blame for the Dolphins' sorry-ass team? Dave Wannstedt, 113. It's the Wannstedt era. I don't give a Schmidt, 60. H. Wayne Heisinger, 41. The offensive line has got...
About 30, man.
I hate the Dolphins, 21. Ricky Williams, 15. Mo Howard David at 15. A.J. Touchy-Feely, 2. And Jay Fiedler's only got a pair. A small one. At any rate, don't forget to look for that QM van right now at the Shell station on the corner of Broward and University in Plantation. Stop by to pick up movie passes to watch Ladder 49 next week and at the Fountains 8 movie theater. Free passes. Got it?
Got it.
No television event has ever received as many complaints. Now, I probably should take a few more calls, and maybe I will before 2 o'clock, but I got piles, man. And I definitely will be on Howard's show tomorrow as far as the world's biggest hemorrhoid. I got piles. I mean, just too important stuff. You know how it is some days when you got important... Some days you don't have much. Today, just a huge pile. No TV event has ever received as many complaints from the American public, over 540,000, as the Super Bowl halftime show produced by CBS. Open Chairman Michael Powell's remarks about the FCC's $550,000 fine levied against Viacom. As countless families gathered around the television to watch our nation's most celebrated events, they were rudely greeted with halftime shows stunned more fitting of a burlesque show. The show, clearly intended to push the limits of primetime TV, ultimately violated federal law that restricts indecent programming at times when children are less likely to be watching. The U.S. Constitution is generous in its protection of free expression, but it is not a license to thrill. I guess it's a license to chill, but not a license to thrill, right? Anything goes is not an acceptable mantra for those who would like to earn their profit using the pubic airwaves, he said. Powell said the Janet Jackson-Justin Tinkerbell wardrobe malfunction was the only portion of the halftime show that he felt overstepped the indecency boundaries, noting that other FCC commissioners wanted to extend the fines for the risque dance performances and also for inappropriate material in some of the commercials that aired during the Super Bowl. Is this incredible or what? I bet you we didn't even know that, right?
No.
Powell said, I agree that some of the performances were risque and that commercials were frequently crass and sophomoric, but they were hardly indecent within the bounds of federal law. Now, I hope that Joyce is listening to that, okay, because the one commercial we know he's talking about is the one with the farting horse.
Right.
He says they were hardly indecent within the bounds of federal law to let loose governmental sanction on such a thin premises to stray from our limited role in enforcing the indecency laws into the role of national nanny, arbiter of taste, values, and propriety. How do you like that? That coming from the unctuous Michael Powell, son of the lying bastard Secretary of State Colin Rowland Powell. Commissioner Jonathan Adelstein was perhaps the harshest as usual in his partial dissent of judgment, calling it a regulatory malfunction. There's a malfunction at your junction. You know what I'm saying, Jonathan?
Rectum.
That's the place. Based on a careful review of the record, said Adelstein, I find today's remedy totally inadequate. After all the bold talk, it's a slap on the wrist that can be paid with just 7.5 seconds of Super Bowl ad time. The $550,000 fine measures up to only about $1 per complaint for the more than 542,000 complaints that flooded into the FCC after the broadcast. While the Commission must always proceed cautiously in broadcast decency cases, this type of graphic and gratuitous nudity is not a close call, continued Adelstein. The millions of our nation's children who were ambushed by the Super Bowl halftime show deserve better protection. A fine of 7.5 seconds of ad time is... Would you calm down? We're not talking about Mexico or Spain or some eighth world country here now, man. Or Italy or France.
From a boob.
That's right. A fine of 7.5 seconds of ad time is scarcely any deterrent. The shockwaves are still being felt by this shameful episode. I fear that today we'll respond to a wardrobe malfunction with a regulatory malfunction, he be saying. FCC Commissioner What the hell was that? Michael Copps was another of the commissioners that wanted to take fines further, stating, I agree that the Super Bowl halftime show violated the indecency statute, and I'm pleased that we're taking this step to address a deplorable incident. I remain troubled, however, by certain aspects of the decision, therefore would not approve of it entirely. The commission received complaints of other aspects of the halftime show, and some of the commercials, continued Copps, yet the order dismisses these complaints in a footnote with hardly any analyzation or explanation. The FCC relies on viewers and listeners to file complaints about indecent broadcasts and places a heavy burden on complaining citizens. He says the citizens that file these complaints have a right to expect more of a commission follow-through on their complaints. That's right. If you hear a farting horse on TV, you ought to be bitching and screaming and yelling. The fact that we got over 1,000 dead Americans over there in Iraq and that our Americans are getting their heads chopped off every day, that's nothing to worry about. But when you see a booby or a farting horse, that's when you ought to get on your high horse and scream and carry on like crazy. Did I say high horse?
Yes,
well,
you did.
On your high chair. Commissioner Kevin J. Martin agreed with Copps, stating, first, hundreds of thousands of viewers across the country filed complaints asking us to find various aspects of the Super Bowl halftime show indecent. Some even complained that the whole show was indecent. This notice, however, analyzes only one segment of the show. We have a duty to the public to fully analyze all the complaints that we receive. Powell also addressed an issue being raised by many broadcasters about having no set guidelines for an indecency definition, saying, it is not possible to write a red book of do's and don'ts, nor is it wise. It always comes back to the same crap. There are simply too many subtleties and too many contexts in which a given form of speech might occur to generalize a set of rules. The individual facts in the context are critical to separating protected speech from unlawful speech. Well, how about just giving us like some general guidelines that make some sense, okay? Instead of just a bunch of double talk and mumbo jumbo, you idiot, you goofball, you clown, you silly person. You uptight, phony, baloney prude. Anyway. Oh, here's a poll about suggestion for a poll. Dolph and Denny, yada, 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 Linda Martin, okay, whatever. Whatever you say, I'll put it in my pile poll, or is it the other way around? So how do you like that? I want to go back and read that one thing again there.
Yeah, which thing?
Some of the commissioners wanted to extend the fines for risque dance performances and also for inappropriate material in some of the commercials that aired during the Super Bowl. This is so absolutely
They let Elvis get away with it in the whole country.
That's right, and that was where they made the mistake. If they'd have stopped him in Munich, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Stopped him at Memphis.
Right, that's correct. If they'd have stopped him on the Ed Solomon show. Now, getting down to some more serious business. NBC poll. We got polls up the nose here. All kinds of polls. In fact, there's one that shows Kerry with the lead. How do you like that? But the first one, the NBC's poll now shows, with less than 6 weeks before Election Day, the latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll shows Bush with a lead over Kerry, but it's within the margin of error, much smaller than some of the other recent post-GOP convention polls indicate. He's not doing all that great among women. That's what bothers me. Kerry's only 3 points ahead among women. Gore won women by 11%. And Democrats generally do very, very well among women. But for whatever reason, I guess most of the women out there want to have their sons sent off to us, another one of the neocons wars, and butchered, maybe have their heads chopped off.
Yeah.
Maybe that impresses them a lot. Anyway, this poll conducted by Hart McInturf shows Bush receiving 48% from registered voters, Kerry 45%, and Nader, the unctuous, stubborn piece of turd, 2%. With a 65 Corvair. Among likely voters, defined as those expressing high interest in the election, Bush holds a 4-point lead, 50 to 46% over scary-looking Kerry. The difference between those couple of points and being a dead-even race is modest, admitted GOP pollster Bill McInturf. This is not a difficult race for Kerry to quickly get back to being functionally tied. Again, keep in mind, this poll conducted by a Republican pollster. How do you like that? Not as Republican as George Gallup, though, where their polls are like, well, although George Gallup is dead, but the Gallup organization. It says, in fact, the results among registered voters are virtually identical to the results of past NBC Wall Street Journal polls, even though many experts claim that Bush had a resoundingly successful convention and noted that Kerry had a dreadful August, especially the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth and yada, yada, yada. In the latest poll, which was released just days before the Republican convention, the last one, Bush was 47-45, now it's 48-45. And it got all a bunch of numbers. It's on our website if you want to read all the numbers. I don't have time for all them numbers. If you want a hot number, there's, what's her name, Pamela Sue Martin. That's kind of lukewarm. Now, a poll in 20 swing states. Am I coherent or am I like doing this too fast?
Fine. No, I'm following right along.
Because I got a lot of stuff here. I got huge piles.
Good pacing.
Oh, man, have I got piles. Good pacing. That's at Pompano Park this weekend, tomorrow and Saturday. As a matter of fact, today it's the Little Brown Jug from Delaware, Ohio. What? With Roger Houston, the first voice of Pompano Park, who's screaming and puking, and I think lost his voice yesterday before the Jugette final. At any rate, a poll in 20 swing states. Maybe that's on right now, you know what? I don't know what time they start those races on Jug Day at Delaware, Ohio.
Sammy, are keeping Bocephus in their sights.
Oh, I can tell you who won this race because I saw it already the first time yesterday at the Woodbine. Anyway, can I get back to my story? You see, when you get me wandering like that, I meander all over the place and I lose track of things. That's what happens when you can be old and febrile. A poll in 20 swing states published yesterday showed John Kerry still clinging to a narrow lead over President George Bush in the key election battlegrounds, but raised questions about the reliability of any of these polls at a volatile point in the campaign. This is the Zogby poll, which he hates Bush like poison, so while the Gallup poll is very biased on the other side, this one also you have to raise 4 eyebrows when you look at it. It suggests that Mr. Kerry was losing ground, but his support is better distributed in the battleground states, giving him a potential edge in the Electoral College. According to Mr. Zogby, if the election were held today, Kerry'd have 264 electoral votes and El Presidente 241. Florida and Arkansas would be tied. They're neck and neck, nose to nose. I guess they don't realize we got all them Schwarzers out there. They're going to vote 3 or 4 times. That's right. They're going to get even for 2,000, all you dark votes. You go out there and vote over and over and over again till we put Kerry about 400,000 votes ahead. By enough so that the fat-ass governor can't come in there with Catherine Harris again and Teresa Lepore and steal the election. Anyway, it says it contrasts dramatically with the latest Gallup poll, which gave Bush a 14-point lead. We know that. Anyway, it says this is a significant erosion of Kerry's margin in the Electoral College 2 weeks ago in the Zogby poll. He had a 51-vote lead in the Electoral College. Now it's 27. And then it goes on about the Pew Research poll, and this poll, and that poll, and the flag poll, and the lightning poll, and all this other garbage, okay? And the May poll. What's the one that we used to, the Mayberry poll, right?
Okay.
Isn't that the one we used to dance around the Mayberry poll?
With Andy and Barney?
Right, something like that. Is he still alive? He's just barely hanging on, Andy Griffith. Our celebrity death watch salutes Andy Griffith. Oh! Boys and girls, pretty soon he's going to be pushing up daisies and driving Miss Daisy, but he was a hell of a hoot, wasn't he? Him and Don Knotts. I liked Don Knotts before he got hooked up with Andy Griffith. All that cornpone stuff. Don Knotts was great on. What was he on? Steve Allen show? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom Poston, Don Knotts, Dayton Allen. Why not? That's before your time. Great show.
Yeah.
In fact, all the great shows are before your time. TV used to be good, take my word for it.
Okay.
Okay, who's to blame for the Dolphins' sorry team is our poll question today. We don't want to overlook this poll, especially with them hot games coming up this weekend. I think the Patriots have a bye week this week, don't they?
That must be you. You're the Patriot fan.
I beg your pardon?
You're the Patriot fan.
I think they have a bye this week. Bye-bye, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that the whole division had the bye the same week, or am I wrong about that?
You're wrong about that.
Oh, so the Patriots have a bye this week, and the Dolphins, if you thought they played a girls' team last week and lost to Cincinnati, the Steelers aren't looking awfully good. They look pretty weak, okay? So just maybe there could be a chance to win a game there. Unlikely, but we'll see. Who's responsible for their sorry team? Wannstedt 141. I don't give a Schmidt 75. H. Wayne Heisinger 53. Old Baldy. The offensive line 32. I hate the Dolphins 24. Ricky Williams 17. Mo Howard David at 16. A.J. Touchy-Feely 2. And Jay Fiedler's got a pair.
You're listening to Neil Rogers on 560 QAM.
I'm Frau Ileana Ross-Leitman, and I like scrubbing my smelly gorilla ass with soap made from jewels and listening to the Neil Roque Comunista Hour.
Hello, this is Albert Qaeda from Taliban Records inviting you American infidel to buy latest Cat Stevens collection.
You know Muhammad is right. Take your head off your body. Got a machete with a real sharp blade. How I wish I had an American hostage. Make those infidels pay.
Also including this classic.
I was on an airplane and suddenly was detained. They're mad 'cause I converted and wear a towel on my head. I'm being followed by an F-16. What do they want with me?
The money from your purchase does not go to fund terrorism, really.
It's not time to get off the plane. Just relax and take it easy. You're just dumb, that's your fault. It wouldn't happen if I were a Jew. Fine dark skin and a rag if you want a detainee.
Another variation on a classic.
I ask myself every day which American should pay. Tell me, who would Muhammad slay? I'm cutting through the neck of a woman. She lifted her veil and exposed herself.
So buy new Cat Stevens collection today for $19.95. Or you can pay with Visa, MasterCard, or weapons of mass destruction.
12:03 at 560. I love it. How many more times are we going to play that today?
About 30, man.
At least. Mad Dog at 2, and then we got the Hurricanes game day at 4 and all that stuff on QAM, on Power 96, on this, over here, over there. It's all over the place. We're like a spreading disease, man. We're all over your radio dial. President Bush's debate negotiators gave up one big quid for some small but important quos from Senator John Kerry's debate team. To reach the agreement announced yesterday, sources posted in the negotiations said, while agreeing to the 3 debates the Kerry team wanted, including a town hall encounter, Team Bush, led by the unctuous James A. Baker III,
you turd,
also got the Democratic presidential nominee side to agree to switch the debate topics to make foreign policy the subject of the first debate. The Bush negotiators also won a 2-minute limit on the candidates' responses, a rule they say will restrict Mr. Kerry's grandstanding tendencies. A bipartisan commission had proposed making the first debate about domestic policy, while foreign policy, seen as Mr. Bush's strong suit, was proposed as the topic for the third debate. Because the first debate has historically drawn the largest television audience, and the third debate gets the smallest TV viewership, the topic was a major gain for Team Bush. Oh yeah, they're really doing good on foreign policy, aren't they? Mr. Kerry's negotiators, meanwhile, won 3 chances for their man to appear side by side as an equal with the president, and 3 chances for Mr. Bush to misspeak, things like Abu Ghraib, which Mr. Kerry's supporters say has been the president's tendency in unscripted exchanges. The important thing was for Kerry to be able to be there with the president of the U.S., and the more times he does that, the more it elevates his political stature, said Democratic political consultant Joe Sorrell. Yada, yada, yada. And it goes on about they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and the Bush is going to flumpy and stumble and fumble and get all upset and storm off the stage. How come, and again, remember how little the media made of that about that day that he just stormed off the stage in that press conference?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like nothing happened. It's like we saw that clip about 2-3 times. That was the end of that.
As enemies of tyranny.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, Maureen Dowd's got a good call. We better take a call or two, though, first. 567-0560, pound 560 on the Verizon and Singular wireless line, because these calls are singularly sensational. There's only one anyway. WQAM, hello.
Hey, Neil, how you doing, buddy?
All right, Pally.
First, listen, about that story you read with the FTC, finding CBS, the thing that aggravates me the most, I think there were 500,000 people complaining. That's less than 0.5% of the people that watched the Super Bowl. And they
what, 25%?
0.5, less than 0.5%.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
And the thing that aggravates me the most is they said the most of the complaints were their children. What parent, that's the problem with this country. What parent has their kid up at 11:30 at night on a school night watching the Super Bowl? My kids are in bed at 8 o'clock, and I record the game for them. You know what? I cut out that Janet part on the tape, edit it right out.
Was 11:30 at night? I don't think so.
Yeah, the game started at 9:20. The time they did all the announcements and opening ceremonies, the game started at 9:20.
I thought the game started at 6 o'clock, 6:20.
No, it was 9:20. That was 6 o'clock Eastern. Well, anyway, also, I'm laughing now, man.
Go ahead, keep your composure, man.
All right, I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, have a great day, pal. Oh, on the West Coast, I could see that. Of course, we don't know if any complaints came in from the West Coast because they're used to all kinds of perversion and filth and grotesque stuff and body parts and those things that we can't see on air anymore because Joyce is uptight and out of sight, like Stevie Wonder. Right?
Right.
I mean, seriously, the idea that they actually considered finding them for the dance routines and for the farting horse commercial, I mean, what did I say at the time? The fact that Americans sit back and they accept this and take it like, oh yeah, well this makes sense to me, or they're not like rioting in the streets over it. How is that possible? How is it possible that America is so passive they'll take any crap that the government dishes out? Oh, well, and like you keep telling me, you go to these appearances and they can't believe that we can't play the fart sounds anymore, we can't play 80% of the comedy bits anymore, because the government now has become the moral censors. They keep saying, well, we don't want to go overboard. Right. The civilized world, for those of you, the 40 of you out there with a passport who actually get to go to living and breathing countries around the rest of the world, they're laughing at America. Number one, they hate the president. They hate most of you because of the president, because of the government, are a bunch of Nazis. But over and above and beyond that, they can't believe, just like when Clinton was doing all that Monica Penisgate stuff. And they couldn't believe that. Oh, my. Yeah, exactly. The whole world is like in disbelief, like the whole government's being suspended now because the president's screwing around, like that's some big new revelation. Oh, and speaking of that, he won't be doing it again soon.
Well, that's what he says.
No, that's what the Inquirer says, and the Inquirer knows about your privates. Clinton's sex fears, is his lust life over? Big article, all kinds of good stuff in the Inquirer this week. It's about time. As ex-president recovers from heart surgery, doctors warn he may never be able to crank up the passion like he used to. He ain't going to be able to crank it up. Former President Bill Clinton has just gotten what could be the biggest blow of his entire life. Now, I don't want to go there, but I mean, you people at the Inquirer better watch yourself, or Joyce is going to be coming after your ass. You're right over there in Lantana, and she's going to be knocking your door down, screaming, let me in, stuff like that. He may never be able to have sex again. Medical experts tell Globe that this is not the Inquirer, I'm sorry, excuse me, although it's the same building, the Globe, that for the next month, passion bouts are an absolute no-no for the ex-president as he recovers from his recent quadruple heart bypass surgery. I brought the Globe here, and I thought it was the Inquirer. Oh, my God, the freaking Globe? But the doctors warn that Clinton may also be haunted by a terrifying fear of sudden death, and that scare could keep him from indulging in what was his unofficial favorite pastime, romping between the sheets. The possibility of doing anything strenuous is terrifying to anyone who's had heart surgery, and especially for a man like Bill, who is sexually attractive and active, says a longtime pal. Dr. Richard Stein, a spokesperson for the American Heart Association in New York, tells the Globe, even though we tell patients who have had cardiac events such as quadruple bypass or heart attack that it's safe to resume sex after 4 weeks, at least 50% of them don't do it for a long time. We tell them that it's safe, but there's still so much fear out there that our advice goes in one ear and out the other ear. Despite our best efforts in convincing our patients that it's okay, they put off having sex for months or until they've exercised and see that breaking a sweat doesn't cause a heart attack. The old myth of people dying during sex is still pervasive and haunts patients who have had cardiac events. Well, how do you like that? Now, Maureen Dowd writes, the Prince of Tides, tacking and attacking. She's so good. She's not good on TV, though.
No.
They had her on MSNBC, which I'm only one of 10 people that ever watch MSNBC. I'll tell you who actually is coming on pretty good lately, and I don't like him personally, but his show is actually, do I dare say, Chris Matthews?
Okay.
I can't stand him, but he actually has some good, I don't want to say it. He's been okay. At any rate, Maureen Dowd says, I had to come all the way to Hollywood, and she's talking California, not Florida. I had to come all the way to Hollywood to find Democrats who can actually sound sincere when they say John Kerry has turned a corner. Mr. Kerry is looking for corners to turn in his campaign, just as frantically as the president looking for corners to turn in Iraq. I rate Mr. Kerry's chances higher. But even here among the right's despised liberal cultural elite, some disenchanted Democrats are already lusting for the Clinton restoration in 2008. Kerry's always trying too hard to prove his guydom, one influential Democrat side, while Bush comes across as more of a real guy. Republicans back in Washington are not only mocking the spandex-coated Mr. Kerry's windsurfing video in their ads, they scoff at the notion that the wind's at his back. I'm not sure it's turning a corner to do. Regis and Kelly, sneered one who's been talking about Mr. Kerry in the past tense. The Bushies' perverse private calculation about why Mr. Kerry can't get traction would be comic if it weren't tragic. He can't effectively argue that he could do something differently in Iraq because W has so bollocksed up the place that even a change at the top wouldn't help. He'd never be able to get any other countries to help us, one Bush insider said. Even the British only have 7,000 troops in Iraq compared to our 150,000. The London Observer reported that despite growing dangers in Iraq, the main British force soon will be cut by a third. Mr. Kerry's finally begun to fight back and put the focus on Iraq instead of Vietnam. His speech on Monday was compelling, and unlike W's toxic cotton candy spin, has the additional advantage of being true. Going after Saddam, as the senator says, was a diversion from our greatest enemy, Osama bin Laden. We've traded a dictator for a chaos that has left America less secure, Kerry said. We have, as Mr. Kerry says, a president and vice president who are in denial in a fantasy world and who are guilty of colossal failures of judgment. W did hitch his wagon to the ideologues who surround him, filtering out those who disagreed, including leaders of his own party and the uniformed military. America's credibility in the world has plummeted, as Mr. Kerry says, just at the time we have to deal with the truly scary spokes in the axis of evil, the ones who are a real nuclear threat, not an imaginary one. Yet Mr. Kerry's case has a hollow center. He was asked at his press conference on Tuesday about W. snide reminders that his rival gave him authority to go to war, and playing frat pledge W's Rush chairman innately agreed he still would have voted to give that authority even if there were no WMDs. That vote, he replied, was correct because we needed to hold Saddam Hussein accountable for weapons. That's what America believed. Not all Americans. The administration ruled the Democrats on the authorization vote. It was clear at the time that going after Saddam to punish Osama made no sense, that Cheney and company were going to use Saddam as a lab rat for all their old neocon agendas. It was clear as the fleet sailed toward Iraq that the Bush crew had no interest in diplomacy, that it wanted to castrate the flaccid UN, the flower child Colin Powell and his pinstripe State Department, snotty old Europe, and to despise Saddam to show that America is a hyperpower not to be messed with. As I quoted a girlfriend saying in September 2002, a month before Mr. Kerry's authorization vote, Bush was like the guy who reserves a hotel room and asks you to the prom. When Mr. Kerry says it was the way the president went about challenging Saddam that was wrong, rather than the fact he challenged Saddam, he's sidestepping the central moral issue. It was wrong for the president to take on Saddam as a response to 9/11, to pretend the dictator was a threat to our national security, to drum up a fake case on weapons and a faux link to Al-Qaeda, and to divert our energy, emotions, and material from the real enemy to an old enemy whose address we knew. It was wrong to take Americans to war without telling them the truth about why we were doing it and what it would cost. It wasn't the way W did it, it was what he did.
You're listening to Neil Rogers exclusively on 560 QAM.
Tomorrow!
Yes.
Rectum.
All right. Janice Popinski, woman or a man. Mama done the army concentration camp. You replace the torture at Hussein's apple bread with the better way to rape and torture instead. Conquering Iraq because we hate them for something that we know they did not do. Bush-Obama's Nazi occupation. Now we're all screwed. Janice Popinski, let that freedom ring. And I electrify for water to their thing. Take those naked inmates, stack them in a pile. There's a Kodak moment to say cheese and smile. Overseeing all that's great before it's first. Investing no atrocities for fun. Like Nuremberg, you only follow orders. Look what we've become.
Oh my God.
Janice Popinski, Nellie Appledive, Captain her black rubber on a Saturday night.
I'm not so sure Joyce is going to approve of that smelly fat bulldog reference, you know. Better check it out.
Which part
it's
of it?
12:19. Of course, we don't know about Joyce, do we? Wouldn't that be something to find out more about Joyce? Anyway, this is a great article written by Diana. Diana doesn't have a last name, although we will get back to you, Diana, in the Globe. Oh, I see, Diana Siegfried. She does have a last name. It's one of those glitzy Hollywood, one of those kind of columns in the Globe. Diana shoots from the lip. Wait till you hear this. It's really, for a tabloid, it's amazing. Right, the tabloids generally, because they appeal to the trailer trash crowd, the tabloids generally appeal to the right-wing crowd. But Diana says, by George, he's got nerve. In her explosive new book, author Kitty Kelly calls President Bush a liar. This is news? Just look at the so-called war on terror. Initially, I supported it very, very reluctantly. I might add, choosing to believe that if decent, intelligent people such as Colin Powell and Tony Blair believed it was the right move, then they obviously knew more than they're telling us. And so be it. The public is not entitled to know everything that's going on. Now, all I know is too many people are coming home either in bits or in body bags, and for what? Does anyone even talk about Osama anymore? Wasn't he the terror we were looking to eliminate? But back to this book, The Family, the real story of the Bush dynasty, which, surprise, surprise, has got the Bush camp up in arms, while going to battle is their first impulse. Kelly claims W was a shy, charmless boozer and druggie who thumbed his nose at the honor of the presidency by repeatedly snorting cocaine at Camp David when his dad, George Sr., held the highest office in the land. Years earlier, in the 70s, Georgie Boy arranged for a pregnant girlfriend to have an abortion. By then, he had already developed an inseparable relationship with alcohol that began as the celebrity biographer when he struggled academically in boarding school. The booze also came in handy with the ladies. An acquaintance... Now, can I interrupt my reading of this? Do you notice that she makes reference to the pregnant girlfriend having an abortion?
Yeah.
Now, has anybody in the media... Because I haven't read the book yet. I've thumbed through and read selected parts, but it's a huge book, and I'll get to it this weekend. But if that's actually in there, why hasn't the media been talking about that? And why back in the 2000 weren't the mainstream media talking about that?
You're just lucky you're in Canada, buddy.
It says, years earlier in the 70s, Georgie Boy arranged for a pregnant girlfriend to have an abortion. By then, he'd already developed an inseparable relationship with alcohol that began as the celebrity biographer when he struggled academically in boarding school. The booze also came in handy with the ladies. An acquaintance recalls George couldn't relate to women unless he was loaded. Kelly's sources attribute substance abuse to his suspension from flying during his stint in the National Guard, although relevant documents are mysteriously missing from the record. It gets worse. The author claims George was at times so abusive to wife Laura she fled their home several times. The police were never involved, probably because of some arm twisting by the powerful Bush clan. Not that she was so innocent either, it seems. According to Kelly, Miss Prim was the go-to girl for marijuana during her college days. Now, I don't care that the president drank or did drugs. I don't care that he or she, I'm ever hopeful, helped terminate a pregnancy. I'd rather have someone real in office, someone human who's made mistakes, who's lived a little or a lot, and who can relate to people as flawed as we all are. Better that than some sanctimonious straight arrow who looks down on you and me. What gets me, if any of Kelly's claims are true, is that Bush doesn't admit to any of his past failings or his present ones, and has the gall to slam his opponents for lesser evils. Sure, his spin doctors had the sense to tell him to fess up to boozing. That goes down smooth with his beer-guzzling, gun-toting supporters, especially after you throw in the religion crap. Please. These supporters blast that Kelly's blockbuster book is outrageous and deliberately timed to affect the upcoming election. Well, duh. But they can just calm themselves down right now because the sad truth is Bush ain't going nowhere. Far as I can tell, the majority of the voting public favors tax cuts for the rich, higher health care costs, fewer jobs, a senseless expensive war our grandchildren will still be paying for, a gazillion-dollar deficit, the destruction of the environment, and an educational system that's the shame of the free world. And no book, no matter how sensational, is going to change that.
Wow.
Is that great or what?
You're right, boy. Tight, concise.
Man, she don't pull any punches in there, that bitch.
Who is it? Say
Diana Siegfried at the Globe.
Well, you go, girlfriend.
Man, that's one of the finest columns I ever read. In a tabloid, no less. I'm going to get back to that Kitty Kelly book this weekend and find out about that, they must have either gotten to that Broad or to Larry Flynn or both of them.
About that youthful indiscretion?
I bet you with Larry they threatened to chop his legs off if he wrote that book. Here's the fact that says in response to the freaking moron who called to say the Super Bowl kicked off at 9:20 p.m., he's wrong. Kickoff is usually, like I said, he's talking, West Coast time, okay? Pacific time, that guy. Try to cover his ass with that. Kickoff is usually between, like I said, 6:20 and 6:30. This idiot probably never seen a Super Bowl. You left one huge name off the poll today, and I bet he'll win. Okay, that's right, Rick Spielman, who wouldn't know a football from a kumquat. Rick Spielman, the GM, the Spielmeister. He's the one who gave up the second-round draft pick for third-string quarterback A.J. Touchy-Feely. Rick Spielman. You got it on there, Josh?
Got it on there.
The Spielmeister says, I'll bet he'll win. I don't think he'll beat the Wanstead-era guy. You? No. It's the Wanstead era, baby, and we got a shot. Oh, the poor long-suffering fans, man. I warned you, though. I tried to let you down easy. I told you for months and months and months it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be bad. It's going to be tragic. And I was right, as usual. I just mentioned in passing the Patriots have won 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 seasons and 17 in a row.
Oh!
There actually was a Super Bowl game last year. I still can't get over that. The only thing, this goes to show you how pathetic America is, how juvenile, how in the Stone Age, the only thing anybody can think about from that ball game, from probably the greatest Super Bowl of all time, phenomenal ending, as usual, with the Patriots anyway, was the booby trap. That was it. The flap, the this, the that, all the other silly names they got for it. Over a breast, and not even an entire breast, a part of a breast. Not unlike, although a little bit darker than the breast from the Olympics in that volleyball game or whatever it was, that water polo crap. Who is most to blame for the Dolphins' sorry team? Don't say crap now. Sorry team. We're sorry. Somebody ought to be sorry. Somebody ought to apologize. Somebody ought to give you people a rebate. 472 votes, of which the Wanstead era man, the Wanstead Meister, has got 184. I don't give a shit at 97. H. Wayne Heisinger, 73. The offensive line, 38. And boy, are they offensive or what? I hate the Dolphins, 31. Mo Howard David at 24. That might be
absolutely
correct. Ricky Williams, 20. A.J. Touchy-Feely, 3. Jay Fiedler, 2. And Rick Spielman, he's on there.
You're listening to Neil Rogers exclusively on 560 QAM.
It's day in Miami town.
Absolutely.
At 560 WQAM. Inept Power Company on hold.
You put the futility in utility. Florida paradise in life. There isn't a hurricane that blows as much as you.
And you really don't.
When a storm threatens, we can count on you to turn our power off long before it gets here, leaving the rest of us to marvel at the blue glow of exploding transformers, providing us a historical perspective of 1957 technology. And in the moist heat of tropical darkness, the weakening batteries in our radios broadcast your latest press release for South Florida that says your trucks and crews are ready to roll from the Alabama state border. And the question in everyone's mind is, huh? So as we search for the appropriate answer to how many FPL emergency crews does it take to change a light bulb, Florida Paradise and Light, this bird's for you.
Net Power Company,
Now, let me just send one message out to our friends in Palm Beach County. I don't want to pick on you, but if you're getting really sick and tired of these hurricanes continuously coming right after your ass, right directly at you, like maybe Gene might be going to do, that should teach you a lesson. Don't be voting for Pat Buchanan this time, okay?
Well, they did the right thing. They voted Teresa out.
Don't be doing it again. Oh, yeah, well, they got rid of her, but a little bit too late.
That's a step in the right direction, though.
The Muslim vote. Here's the latest poll on the Muslim vote in the U.S. This is not a joke. This is for real. 71% for Kerry. For Bush, 7%.
See?
Now, I think the rest are for Cat Stevens. Right? 71-7 among the Muslim vote, which is a substantial number, by the way, I should point out. Now, the Jewish vote, I mentioned these numbers yesterday, but here's the whole thing from The Guardian. How come we have to read the British papers and the European papers and the Internet to get the real facts in the news as opposed to this crap they put on like...
Failed. And we went into Iraq.
Yeah, like that. Crap like that. We went into Iraq based on a bunch of lies, and Americans and other innocent people are dying every single day, and the government, for whatever strange reason, isn't impeaching your ass. That's the thing I don't understand. We get attacked by a bunch of Saudis and by Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda, and we went into Iraq to take care of other business, which had nothing to do with anything. And not only was it based on a bunch of lies, but now it's turned into a quagmire. Like they say, you can't spell quagmire without I-R-A-Q. Anyway. George Bush has failed to win over any of the traditional Jewish backing for the Democrats, despite the unwavering White House support for Israel and a vigorous campaign by the Republican Party. In a poll released yesterday by the American Jewish Committee, Jewish voters preferred Mr. Kerry to Mr. Bush by a margin nearly 3-1, 69-24%. It's a slight improvement on Bush's 19% Jewish support in 2000, but well short of the Republican hope of about 30%. That's what they were hoping for. And the only reason he got less than that probably in 2000 is because of Jew Lieberman, wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Although Jews form only 2% of the U.S. population, they vote in great numbers and are prominent in this year's battleground states, Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, where their support could be pivotal. In Florida, they make up 3.9% of the population, more than the margin of victory in the 2000 election. No kidding. Boy, what a perspicacious observation that is. Mr. Bush appeals to a section of the Orthodox community because of his support for the Israeli Prime Minister, Ariel Fat-Ass Sharon, and his open religiosity, but most Jews are not changing sides. David Harris, director of the American Jewish Committee, said most American Jews tend toward the liberal side of the political equation and therefore instinctively lean toward the Democratic candidate, and this year may be no exception, despite a president with a strong track record on U.S.-Israeli relations and who's waging war on radical Islamic terrorism. This is the second poll to confound Republican hopes in a survey by the Democratic pollsters Greenberg, Quinlan, and Rosner for the National Jewish Democratic Council. Kerry at 75%, Bush 22%. What is clear from the survey is that Jewish voters don't necessarily believe that Bush is better on Israel than Kerry. The poll showed an uneasiness with the administration's leadership of the war on terror in Iraq and areas which is expected to pick up Jewish support. There's something else in here about the religious... oh, yeah. Where the hell is it? The headline, well, let me just read the headline. It says, polls show President support for Israel will not win votes from the traditionally Democratic mainstream who recoil from his religious zeal. Got it? Who recoil from his religious zeal. His born-again, fanatical, goyish zeal, all right? So there you go on that. So the Arabs, the Shvattaheads, they're not too keen on him. The Jews say feh. But then again, we got all them Southern Baptists, man. We got all goyim.
Yeah.
Speaking of voters, millions blocked from voting in U.S. election by Alan Elsner. When I first looked at the byline in that article, I thought for sure that it said Eisner, but it's Elsner. Sorry about that, Alan, whoever the hell you are. From Reuters. Millions of U.S. This is so disturbing, man. How come I get disturbed by this and everybody else out there is like like that? Huh?
I don't know.
Do we still have those tickets to give away out there or not?
Yes.
QM Van is right now at the Shell station on the corner of and University in Plantation. Stop by to pick up free movie passes to watch Ladder 49 next week at the Fountains 8 Movie Theater. I guess those aren't going too hot, right?
There are a lot of them.
We got tons of them, man. We got tickets up the nose. Millions of U.S. citizens, including a disproportionate number of black voters, will be blocked from voting in the November 2nd presidential election because of legal barriers, faulty procedures, or dirty tricks, according to civil rights and legal experts. Again, just like Fredo sitting on the curb there, rocking back and forth with his head in his hand. Again, after they hit him with 5 shots. The largest category of those legally disenfranchised consists of almost 5 million former felons who have served prison sentences and have been deprived of the right to vote under laws that have roots in the post-Civil War 19th century that were aimed at preventing black Americans from voting. But millions of other voters in the 2000 presidential election were lost due to clerical and administrative errors, while civil rights organizations have cataloged numerous tactics aimed at suppressing black voter turnout. Polls consistently find that black Americans overwhelmingly vote for Democrats. Duh. There are individuals and officials who are actively trying to stop people from voting who they think will vote against their party, and that nearly always means stopping black people from voting Democratic, said Mary Frances Berry, head of the U.S. Commission on Human Rights, no relation to Marion Berry. Vicki Beasley, no relation to the nose pickers, a field officer for People for the American Oive, listed some of the ways voters have been discouraged from voting. In elections in Baltimore in 2002 and in Georgia last year, black voters were sent flyers saying that anyone who hadn't paid utility bills or had outstanding parking tickets or were behind on their rent would be arrested at polling stations. It happens in every election cycle, she said. Yeah. If you haven't paid your outstanding parking tickets, your FP&L bill or whatever they got up there, you're going to get arrested when you go to vote. Well, I think I'll stay home. In a mayoral election in Philadelphia last year, people pretending to be plainclothes police officers stood outside some polling stations asking people to identify themselves. There have also been reports of mysterious people videotaping people waiting in line to vote in black neighborhoods. Minority voters may be deterred from voting simply by... Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Oh, God, I thought that was going to be the one. I think that's sabotage. See? I knew that. Now, you better tell Clarence again, or Muff, or Corso, or somebody, because that thing is just going to blow out. It's just doing it spontaneously.
When I spoke to him, I guess day before yesterday, I said it could go any minute now.
And here we are. He hasn't said anything to me about it. Anyway, I can use a little vacation. Minority voters may be deterred from voting simply by election officials demanding to see driver's licenses before handing them a ballot, according to Spencer Overton, who teaches law at George Washington University. The federal government does not require people to produce a photo ID unless they're first-time voters who registered by mail. African Americans are 4 to 5 times less likely than whites to have a photo ID, Overton said at a recent briefing on minority disenfranchisement. Courtney Strickland of the American Civil Liberties Union, no relation to Gene Strickland, who used to play shortstop for the Cleveland Indians in the early 50s, testified at the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights last week that at a primary election in Florida last month, many people were wrongly turned away when they could not produce identification. The commission in a report earlier this year said that in Florida, where President Bush won in that bitterly disputed election by supposedly 537 votes, black voters had been 10 times more likely than non-black voters to have their ballots rejected and were often prevented from voting because their names were erroneously purged from the registration lists. Additionally, Florida is one of 14 states that prohibit ex-felons from voting. 7% of the electorate, but 16% of black voters in that state are disenfranchised. In other swing states, 4.6% of voters in Iowa, but 25% of blacks were disenfranchised in 2000 as ex-felons. In Nevada, it was 4.8% of all voters, but 17% of blacks. In New Mexico, 6.2% of all voters, but 25% of blacks. In total, 13% of all black men are disenfranchised due to a felony conviction, according to the Commission on Civil Rights. This has a huge effect on elections, but also on black communities which see their political clout diluted. No one has yet explained to me how letting ex-felons who have served their sentences into polling booths hurts anyone, said Jesse Allen of the Brennan Center for Justice at NYU. Penda Hare.
Huh?
That's her name. Penda Hare, co-director of the Advancement Project, which seeks to ensure fair multicultural elections, recently reported that registrars across the country often claim not to have received voter registration forms or rejected them for technical reasons that could have been corrected easily before voting day if the applicant had known there was a problem. Beasley said that many voters who had registered recently in swing states were likely to find their names would not be on the rolls when they showed up on Election Day. There's a very widespread delay in the swing states because there have been massive registration drives among minorities, and those applications are not being processed quickly enough. So you register to vote in time, it's legal, it's kosher, you show up and say, oh, sorry, it ain't on there yet. Check back with us in about a week after the election's over.
You're listening to Neil Rogers, exclusively on 560 QAM.
What word did you say?
tacos. What are we gonna do? I say tacos. We are all being screwed. I say, listen, why's this happening to us? We want the FCC to get off our butt. Tacos. There's no place for us now. Even DJs are all down in the mouth. You can listen, but now you won't find any words that will corrupt your mind. No fun to be censored by the FCC. No fun to be censored by the FCC. There'll be nothing left for us to enjoy. We'll soon be playing with children's toys. No fun to be censored by the FCC. No fun to be censored by the FCC. They want us to be clean. They think they know what we should feel. They try to dictate to us what is real. Young and old, please listen to us. I say, young and old, please don't put up a fuss. Help us petition the FCC, but you must help us with one thing. Neil Rogers can't do it all by himself. Let's all help him. Don't put it up on the shelf. Let the FCC know just how you feel, and maybe we'll get this unjust law repealed. FCC, what are you doing to us? FCC, what are you doing to us? Our ratings won't fly. In fact, they might die because of the FCC. You want to ban what we can do. FCC, you ban what we can say. You've even tried to ban the records that the DJs play. People, I am talking to you. I said people, let's stand and fight for what's true. Send your letters into so far so we can tell the FCC what Neanderthals they are. Neil Rogers and so far are on your side. People, we have nothing to hide. Young and old, get your opinions out, and maybe the FCC will stay out. FCC, in the morning now, FCC, in the evening now, no one knows what words drive them insane. We all have the FCC to blame. FCC, go away. FCC, get off our backs. FCC, let us live our lives free.
That is special, ain't it?
I love it.
Anyway, speaking of special, I got some stuff here, some good stuff. Right. Oh, at first, this fact, you are absolutely correct.
Absolutely correct, sir.
I am getting senile and really stupid in my old age. But I got sucked in by that caller. Can I say that?
No.
I got really conned by that call. It says, you must be getting senile. West Coast time is earlier than the East Coast. Well, duh. There's no explanation that puts the Super Bowl kickoff time past 10 p.m. anywhere in the U.S. You'd have to be in Europe. If it was 6:20 here, of course, it was 3:20 in California. Well, I was trying to, find some outlet for this guy who was coming up with this crap. Anyway, assuming a 6:20 kickoff time here means halftime show was somewhere between 8:30 and 9:30, with all the extra commercials and such, and 5:30 to 6:30 on the West Coast, and sure, that caller was full of crap, almost as much as the FCC is what it says. Got the Michael Moore, Mr. Bush and his 10 ever-changing different positions on Iraq column, but before that, speaking of what I was just talking about voters getting disenfranchised.
Yeah.
This is by Ari Berman in The Nation. Is Michigan next? Michigan? He says, is the battleground state of Michigan turning into the next Florida? Is Terry Lynn Land, the Michigan Secretary of State and Republican co-chair of the Bush-Cheney campaign, about to become the next Katherine Harris? In the last few weeks, the Department of State's branch offices in Ann Arbor and Battle Creek have distributed special notices to newly registered voters. Registering today, please be advised that you're not eligible to vote in the November 2nd, 2004 general election. Except the deadline to register for November's election is until October 4, and the flyers are meant for display only after October 5. Ann Arbor is a progressive haven, and Battle Creek remains a hotly contested swing district with a one-term House Republican struggling for re-election. What's going on here? It's impossible to know right now whether the state's office deliberately misled voters or made an honest mistake, but when State Senator Mark Schauer of Battle Creek asked Land's legislative liaison what they were doing to remedy the problem, he received a stunning reply. Nothing. That prompted a fiery news conference and rebukes from 7 state legislators on Tuesday. This is part of a consistent pattern and practice of the Republican Party, said Senator Samuel Thomas of Detroit. Land reversed course and sent out a second notice informing new voters that their vote would count. But the damage may have already been done. Who knows how many of these voters will disregard the second notice? How many didn't register after seeing the first flyer? It's still unclear how many of the 173 state branch offices followed suit. Land's office insists only 2. Schauer's office already learned of a third mailing to Brighton, Michigan, outside Detroit. There's a precedent here. In July, Republican state legislator John Papa George generated an outcry after labeling voter suppression in the... this is too important. There's a precedent here. In July, Republican state legislator John Papa George generated an outcry after labeling voter suppression the key to a Bush-Cheney victory. If we do not suppress the Detroit vote, we're going to have a tough time, he told the Detroit Free Press, speaking of the 80% black and heavily Democratic city. In 2000, the Republican-controlled legislature passed a bill requiring the address on a driver's license to match the voter registration card information, which disproportionately affects college students, immigrants, and the poor, who generally lean Democratic. Combined with Papa George's comments, the Michigan Secretary of State's recent actions add only fuel to the fire. How do you like that? So wow. We can't win it fair and square. We got plenty of practice from 2000. Let's go around from Michigan to Florida and anywhere else we can do it and win it unfair and unsquare. Tragic. Pathetic. And this was the compassionate conservatism that we're going to bring morality back to the bunch of Nazi thugs is what you're dealing with, boys and girls. Michael Moore says, Dear Mr. Bush, I'm so confused. Where exactly do you stand on the issue of Iraq? You, your dad, Rummy, Condi, Colin, and Wolfie, you've all changed your mind so many times I'm out of breath just trying to keep up with you. Which of these 10 positions that you, your family, and your cabinet have taken over the years represents your current thinking? 1983 to 88. We love Sodom. On December 19, 1983, Donald Rumsfeld was sent by your dad and Mr. Reagan to go have a friendly meeting with Saddam Hussein, the dictator of Iraq. Rummy looked so happy in the picture. Just 12 days after this visit, Saddam gassed thousands of Iranian troops. Your dad and Rummy seemed pretty happy with the results because the Donald R. went back to have another chummy hangout with Saddam's right-hand man, Tariq Aziz, just 4 months later. All of this resulted in the U.S. providing credits and loans to Iraq that enabled Saddam to buy billions of dollars worth of weapons and chemical agents. The Washington Post reported that your dad and Reagan let it be known to their Arab allies that the Reagan-Bush administration wanted Iraq to win its war with Iran, and anyone who helped Saddam accomplish this was a friend of ours. 1990. We hate Saddam. In 90, when Saddam invaded Kuwait, your dad and his defense secretary, Dick Cheney, decided they didn't like Saddam anymore, so they attacked Iraq and returned Kuwait to its rightful dictators. 1991. We want Saddam to live. After the war, your dad and Cheney and Colin Powell told the Shiites to rise up against Saddam. We would support them, so they rose up, but then we changed our minds. When the Shiites rose up against Saddam, the Bush inner circle changed its mind, decided not to help the Shiites, thus they were massacred by Saddam. 1998. We want Saddam to die. In 1998, Rumsfeld Wolfowitz and others, as part of the Project for the New American Century, wrote an open letter to President Clinton insisting he invade and topple Saddam Hussein. 2000, we don't believe in war and nation building. Just 3 years later, during your debate with Al Gore in the 2000 election, when asked by moderator Jim Lehrer where you stood when it came to using force for regime change, you turned out to be a downright pacifist. Quote, I would take the use of force very seriously. I would be guarded in my approach. I don't think we can be all things to all people in the world. I think we've got to be very careful when we commit our troops. The Vice President, Al Gore, and I have a disagreement about the use of troops. He believes in nation building. I would be very careful about using our troops as nation builders. I believe the role of the military is to fight and win war, and therefore prevent war from happening in the first place. And so I take my responsibility seriously. 2001. We don't believe Saddam is a threat. When you took office in 2001, you sent your Secretary of State Colin Powell and your National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice in front of your cameras to assure the American people they need not worry about Saddam Hussein. Here's what they said. Powell, we should constantly be reviewing our policies, constantly be looking at those sanctions to make sure that they've directed our purpose. The purpose is every bit as important now as it was 10 years ago when we began it. And frankly, they've worked. He has not developed any significant capability with respect to weapons of mass destruction. He's unable to project conventional power against his neighbors. That was February 24, 2001. Condoleezza. But in terms of Saddam Hussein being there, let's remember that his country is divided in effect. He doesn't control the northern part of his country. We're able to keep arms from him. His military forces have not been rebuilt. That was July 29, 2001. 2001 late. We believe Saddam's going to kill us. Just a few months later, in the hours and days after the 9/11 tragedy, you had no interest in going after Osama bin Laden. You wanted only to bomb Iraq and kill Saddam, and then told all of America we were under imminent threat because of weapons of mass destruction that were coming our way. You led the American people to believe that Saddam had something to do with Osama and 9/11. Without the UN sanction, you broke international law and invaded Iraq. 2003, we don't believe Saddam is going to kill us. After no WMDs were found, you changed your mind about why you said we needed to invade, coming up with a brand new after-the-fact reason. We started this war so we could have regime change, liberate Iraq, and give the Iraqis democracy. 2003, mission accomplished. Yes, everyone saw you say it, in costume no less. 2004, oops, mission not accomplished. Now you call the Iraqi invasion a catastrophic success. That's what you called it this month. Over 1,000 U.S. soldiers have died. Iraq is in a state of total chaos where no one is safe, and you have no clue how to get us out of there. Mr. Bush, please tell us, when will you change your mind again? I know you hate the words flip and flop, so I won't use them both on you. In fact, I'll use just one. Flop. That's what you are, a huge, colossal flop. The war is a flop. Your advisors and the intelligence they gave you is a flop. And now we're all a flop to the rest of the world. Flop, flop, flop. And you have the audacity to criticize John Kerry with what you call the many positions he's taken on Iraq. By my count, he's taken only one. He believed you. That was his position. You told him and the rest of Congress that Saddam had WMD. So he and the vast majority of Americans, even those who didn't vote for you, believed you. You see, Americans like John Kerry want to live in a country where they can believe their president. That was the one single position John Kerry took. He didn't support the war. He supported you, and you let him and this great country down. And that's why tens of millions can't wait to get to the polls on Election Day to remove a major, catastrophic flop from our dear beloved White House, to stop all the flipping you and your men have done, flipping us and the rest of the world off. We can't take another minute of it.
The Howard Stern Show. Neil Rogers, mornings and middays. And sports around the clock. 560 QAM.
The 1 to 2 hour.
All right. I'm dying over here.
I joined the Nazi party. They used to call it the GOP. And I strongly agree with right-wing policy, so they won't be coming for me. So I went to the Nazi party, convention held in the Empire State. For 9/11, thank the Saudis, give their hands a shake and dance on the grave. I'm reading Mein Kampf now, the Bush doctrine as well. You see, you believe anyone if you can't think for yourself. La-da-da-da, la-da-da-da, la-da-da-da-da-da. The entertainment at the Nazi party was appropriately Christian and white. There was David Duke and Clear Channel of Bruce Lee Greenwood and Toby Greenteeth Keith. I'm watching O'Reilly now and Ann Coulter as well. Oi! If you don't believe Bush is the only one, then you should die and go to hell.
We're here in September, and
it's 102 at 560 WQAM. Excuse me, Rush. Hop another one for me. Attaboy. Look how many votes we got in there already. Pretty heavy duty on the Dolphins situation. 594 vote. Who is most responsible, in your opinion, for the Dolphins' sorry-ass team this season? Dave Wanstead, 226. I don't give a Schmidt, 122. H. Wayne Heisinger, 88. The offensive line, 49. I hate the Dolphins, 39. Mo Howard David at 33. Ricky Williams, 26. Rick Spielman, the Spielmeister's only got 5. Whoever, well, maybe if we'd have put him on in the beginning. He's only got 5. A.J. Touchy-Feely, 3, and Jay Fiedler's got 3. Wait till I'm doing too much reading today, but you know what? Too bad.
Take a drink.
No, seriously, I got important fish to fry here, okay? Did I mention, it's on our website. I don't know, I want to spend a lot of time, because I got a very, well, let me do this one first.
Did I mention that the van was gone?
What?
Did I mention that the van was gone?
Oh, the van's gone. Let me Schmidt kid it. Okay. Okay, you can't get any more of those tickets for the movie. The van's gone. Did they give them all away, or they just give up?
One or the other.
We don't care. This is by Michael Isikoff and Mark Hosenball. Okay? From MSNBC. The story that didn't run, the piece that 60 Minutes killed for its report on the Bush Guard documents. This will make you pee your pants, okay? It's long, so just bear with me, because I'm doing too much reading, and you know what? Too bad. I like it.
I like it.
Good. And, of course, Josh likes it, because he's daydreaming about his big ball game tonight with, what's his name? Francis O'Hare, with Dave Van Boring. Well, I'm glad he has a good sense of humor about the way I rip him in the ass, and you deserve it, too, by the way, Dave. You are terminal. Anyway, They write, in its rush to air its now discredited story about President George W. Bush's National Guard service, CBS bumped another sensitive piece slated for the same 60 Minutes broadcast, a half-hour segment about how the U.S. government was snookered by forged documents purporting to show Iraqi efforts to purchase uranium from Niger. The journalistic juggling at CBS provides an ironic counterpoint to the furor over apparently bogus documents involving Bush's National Guard service. One unexpected consequence of the network's decision was to wipe out a chance, at least for the moment, for greater public scrutiny of a more consequential forgery that played a role in building the Bush administration's case to invade Iraq. A team of 60 Minutes correspondents and consulting reporters spent more than 6 months investigating the Niger uranium documents fraud, CBS sources tell Newsweek. The group landed its first-ever on-camera interview with Elisabetta Burba, the Italian journalist who first obtained the phony documents, as well as her elusive source, Rocco Martino, a mysterious Roman businessman with long-standing ties to European intelligence agencies. Although the edited piece never ended up identifying Martino by name, the story, narrated by 60 Minutes correspondent Ed Bradley, asked tough questions about how the White House came to embrace the fraudulent documents and why administration officials chose to include a 16-word reference to the questionable uranium purchase in President Bush's 2003 State of the Union speech. But just hours before the piece was set to air on the evening of September 8th, the reporters and producers on the CBS team were stunned to learn the story was being scrapped to make room for a seemingly sensational story about new documents showing that Bush ignored a direct order to take a flight physical while serving in the National Guard more than 30 years ago.
About 30, man.
The story has since created a journalistic and political firestorm, resulting in a colossal embarrassment for CBS. This week, the network concluded that its principal source for the documents, a disgruntled former Guard official and Democratic partisan named Bill Burkett, has lied about where he got the material. CBS anchor Dan Rather publicly apologized for broadcasting the faulty report, and CBS yesterday named a two-person team comprised of former U.S. Attorney General Dick Thornburg and former AP Chief Louis Bacardi to investigate the network's handling of the story. This is like living in a Kafka novel, said Joshua Micah Marshall, a Washington Monthly contributing writer and a web blogger who had been collaborating with 60 Minutes producers on the uranium story. Here we had a very important, well-reported story about forged documents that helped lead the country to war, and then it gets bumped by another story that relied on forged documents. Some CBS reporters, as well as one of the network's key sources, fear that the Niger uranium story may never run, at least not any time soon, on the grounds that the network cannot now credibly air a report questioning how the Bush administration could have gotten taken in by phony documents. The network would be a laughing stock, said one source intimately familiar with the story. Although acknowledging that it was frustrating to have his story bounce, David Gelber, the lead CBS producer on the Niger piece, said he had been told the segment will still air sometime soon, perhaps as early as next week. Obviously, everybody at CBS is holding their breath these days. I'm assuming the story is going to run till I'm told differently, he said. The delay of the CBS report comes at a time when there have been significant new developments in the case, although virtually none of them have been reported in the U.S. According to Italian and British press reports, Martino, the real middleman at the center of the case, was questioned last week by an Italian investigating magistrate for 2 hours about the circumstances surrounding his acquisition of the documents. Martino could not be reached for comment, but his lawyer is reportedly planning a press conference in the next few days. Burba, the Italian journalist, confirmed to Newsweek this week that Martino was the previously mysterious Mr. X who contacted her with the potentially explosive documents in early October 2002, just as Congress was debating whether to authorize President Bush to wage war against Iraq. The documents, consisting of telexes, letters, and contracts, purported to show that Iraq had negotiated an agreement to purchase 500 tons of yellow cake uranium from Niger, material that could be used to make a nuclear bomb. A U.S. intelligence official told Newsweek that Martino was in fact believed to have been the distributor of the documents. Burba, under instructions from her editor at Panorama, a news magazine owned by Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, then provided the documents to the U.S. Embassy in Rome in an effort to authenticate them. The embassy soon passed the material on to Washington, where some Bush administration officials viewed it as hard evidence to support its case that Saddam Hussein's regime was actively engaged in a program to assemble nuclear weapons. But the Niger component of the White House case for war quickly imploded. Asked for evidence to support President Bush's contention in the State of the Union speech that Iraq was seeking uranium from Africa, the administration turned over the Niger documents to the IAEC, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Within 2 hours, using the Google search engine, the IAEA officials in Vienna determined the documents to be a crude forgery. At the urging of Senator Jay Rockefeller, Vice Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, the FBI launched an investigation into the Niger documents in an effort to determine if the U.S. government had been duped by a deliberate disinformation campaign organized by a foreign intelligence agency or others with a political agenda relating to Iraq. So far, the Bureau appears to have made little progress in unraveling the case. The senator is frustrated by the slow pace of the investigation, said Wendy Morgie, the press secretary for Senator Rockefeller, who was recently briefed on the status of the FBI probe. One striking aspect of the FBI investigation is that at least as of this week, Martino has told associates he's never been interviewed by the Bureau, despite the fact that he was publicly identified by the Financial Times of London as the source of the documents more than 6 weeks ago, and was subsequently flown to New York City by CBS to be interviewed for the 60 Minutes report. A U.S. law enforcement official said the FBI is seeking to interview Martino, but has not yet received permission to do so from the Italian government. The official declined to comment on other aspects of the investigation. The case has taken on additional intrigue because of mounting indications that Martino had long-standing relations with European intelligence agencies. Martino recently told the Sunday Times of London that he had previously worked with SISMI, the Italian military intelligence agency, a potentially noteworthy part of his resume, given that the conservative Italian government of Berlusconi was a strong supporter of the Bush administration's invasion of Iraq. A French government official told Newsweek that Martino also had a relationship with French intelligence agencies, but the French official rejected suggestions from U.S. and British officials that French intelligence may have played a role in creating the documents in order to embarrass Bush and British Prime Minister Tony Blair. The French never disseminated the documents because they couldn't establish their authenticity, the French official said. Martino has told Burba and others that he obtained the phony documents from an Italian woman who worked in the Niger embassy in Rome. He was in turn put in touch with the woman by yet another middleman who, according to Burba's account, had directed Martino to provide the documents to the Egyptians. Some press reports have suggested the still unidentified middleman who put Martino in touch with his Niger embassy source was in fact a SISMI officer himself. Burba, who has twice been interviewed by the FBI but never gave up Martino's name, said she had been cooperating with the CBS team on the story in hopes of getting to the bottom of the matter. But now with the 60 Minutes broadcast postponed, she's no longer confident that it can ever happen. Meanwhile, she said she's fed up with Martino, who has lied to her and provided contradictory accounts to other journalists. I'm disappointed, she told Newsweek. In this story, you don't know who's lying, who's telling the truth. The sources have been both discredited and discredited themselves. So there you go. That was part of the reason that they justified going to war in the first place. We don't want to put that on there because we're already the laughing stock. Their eye is crying. Not to mention, of course, the $550,000 fine for that booby trap.
Common class.
Yeah. That's the important stuff. Farting horses and naked boobies, man. That's what your government is concerned about. 12 minutes after 1 at 560 WQAM. If you're concerned about your hair falling out on the ground, here's the answer for you. For over 35 years, our good friend Chuck Alfieri has been providing amazing natural-looking hair systems that are virtually 100% undetectable. And Charlie right now is introducing the latest development in hair restoration. It's an exciting deal called the new laser light therapy treatment that's used for treating fine and thinning hair. This new treatment is FDA certified and restores your hair and scalp back to its healthiest state while increasing hair shaft density and volume. The new laser light therapy and its cool light laser device is effective on both men and women, and it's a painless, non-invasive treatment that is complete in just about a half an hour. That's all it takes. Charlie and the staff have witnessed dramatic results with this new system that impedes hair fallout for those of you with fine and thinning hair. So stop waiting for a miracle to get your hair to stop falling into the sink, on the shower, or onto the ground, and give Charlie a call to learn more about this exciting new laser light therapy treatment. How it can solve your thinning hair problem forever? It really can change your life. Call them toll-free. There's no obligation. 1-800-321-2413. That's 1-800-321-2413. Get your hair back from Chuck Alfieri. Check him out on the World Wide Web at charlesalfieri.com.
You're listening to Neil Rogers exclusively on 560 QAM.
Coming up.
He was his ward, not his pedophile.
One day he's a Republican, and the next day Democrat. He's John of maniac. He served his country well and was a POW. But in 2000 was called as a traitorous who-do. He called his wife a junkie and trapped his daughter too. And now the kids supporting him, hugging him and modeling. He's John a maniac. How can he put up with that crap?
Hey, stupid!
Must have Hero in his fingers to support the little singer. The John talking about the John
160, and here's the most exciting news of the day, and maybe of the last couple of weeks. Maybe it'll last quite a while.
Yeah.
The Humper returns tomorrow.
Oh!
How do you like that?
That was fun.
Must be true because it's from Clarence Darrow. It says Hank will be back on the air tomorrow for broadcast, for publication. Tell everybody in the world, okay? Get out your megaphone. Get out your sandwich board. Go on to Lincoln Road Mall. Run around. Humper's coming back tomorrow. Our big fat pile of fun. Just in time for weekend number 3 of the NFL season.
That was funny.
Yeah, I thought so. Aren't you excited?
Yeah, I am.
Maybe that. Well, you don't sound excited as I am.
I am.
I don't know what it is about you. Well, what happened with those baseball cards? That was great that you emailed me before.
Yeah.
Did you email them to Eric?
No, I wanted your approval.
Oh, I thought they were cute.
Indeed. All right.
Why do I have to approve that? Oh, that's right. I have to approve it because otherwise you'll get our ass into a ringer again. So
right.
if I'm going to get my ass in a ringer, I would prefer that I'm the one who gets my ass in a ringer as opposed to you or Boca
Your
Brian
call, buddy.
Right. Oh, sure. Unless that's something that's like no.
We're just going to put a link on there anyway.
There you go.
Bushballcards.com for those who want to know what we're talking about.
They're cute. But in the meantime, I still think that those drag pictures of Bush and Cheney and Edwards and Kerry, those are fabulous, in spite of the fact that you've already seen them before, so you were like just blown away. Those are great. Take a puke at it. Now, how is it that we got all the way to this part of the show and not even mentioned this before? My bad. Isn't this the most important story of the century about Britney Spears? Don't forget, Hank comes back at 4 tomorrow.
Oh!
Man, I'm pleased. Pleased as punch. Of course, so was Hubert Humphrey. Look what happened to him. Did she or didn't she, and is she or isn't she? It says, Britney Spears most definitely got married last week. People magazine reports in its October 4 issue filled with pictures of pop star and her fiancé, Kevin Federline, or whatever the hell his name is, in wedding apparel and surrounded by family and friends. What the couple didn't do, according to the L.A. County Registrar Office, is file a marriage license after the ceremony. I guarantee you they did that. Many times. No big deal, says a member of the singer's camp who declined to be quoted by name. They're scheduled to file it next week, she told the AP yesterday. Spears told People magazine essentially the same thing. I know we're not completely legal till we file the license, which we'll do next week, the 22-year-old pop star said, but in a real sense, a spiritual sense, we're married. Now, does that have something to do with Kabbalah?
I'm sure.
Possibly. Federline 26 said the delay was caused when the couple moved their wedding date up to September 18. As word leaked up, they were planning to be married October 16. It leaked up and he leaked out. Moving the date up a month, he said, didn't give their lawyers time to finish their prenuptial agreement. That's the chicken in the wood pile. She wants to get that prenup done. It's done now, though, he said. And so is she. The couple said their lawyers have told them they have 90 days to file the license, and it goes on about she did this and she did him and blah, blah, blah. Federline said his 2-year-old daughter from a previous relationship who was to be the wedding's flower girl missed the event, that ceremony, at a Studio City home because he feared if he canceled her previously planned trip to Disneyland that the reason would be leaked out. So she's going to Disneyland. Not Disney World, Disneyland.
Yeah, well.
Where they're 3 hours ahead. Behind. Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. I apologize for my stupidity on that. But, it goes to show you how easily you can get conned into that. That still didn't make any sense. Well, the guy was a doofus. Oh, speaking of doofuses, man, I'm just reading way too much today,
Nonsense.
Not?
No.
Did I tell you at the beginning of the show that I had a pile?
And I said, good.
I had a big, heavy pile.
I said,
all right. It's going to be on the Howard Stern Show tomorrow on the hemorrhoid contest. I got a big, heavy pile, and Joyce ain't too happy about it and certainly don't want to see it. Maybe I have to show it to Joyce first before I can talk about it.
Well, then whip it out.
Hey, Joyce, you want to see my pile? Anyway, this is from The Guardian again. Boy, a lot of these Brit newspapers have some pretty interesting crap. Lawyers say Prime Minister could be impeached over Iraq. Oh! How do you like that? Huh. I'm thinking certainly that would be good in the USA. I don't understand how the Bushmeisters has evaded. Clinton, man, they went after tooth and tongs and nail over some sexual peccadillos, and now you got this crap of going to war based on a pile of lies, and it's like, he's fighting terrorism and doing a wonderful job, and even the Housewives of America are buying into that. We got to be safe from terror. Give me a break. Talk about dumb. Anyway, The Guardian reports Parliament has the power to impeach Tony Blair over his decision to invade Iraq. Lawyers acting for an all-party campaign to use the ancient right say today. Impeachment is appropriate where there is no other means of calling a person to account, either legally or politically, for some serious wrong, according to lawyers from Matrix Chambers, the firm of which the Prime Minister's wife, Sherry Booth, is a member. Impeachment was last used against Lord Palmerston more than 150 years ago in the Brits, but has since fallen by the wayside on the assumption that the will of the nation is expressed through Parliament and MPs hold ministers to account. But Ravinder Singh QC, I have no idea what that QC is. Do you?
No.
And Connor Garrity say Mr. Blair has a case to answer based on an alleged serious breach of constitutional propriety. The charge they lay against the Prime Minister is misleading Parliament as to the basis for military action against Iraq so as to obtain from that body and its individual members support for the conflict which would not necessarily have been forthcoming in contravention of the fundamental constitutional principle of ministerial accountability of Parliament. The lawyers said they were responding to a report drawn up for the campaign saying there are 3 grounds for impeaching the Prime Minister: the claims he made before the war about Iraq weapons, his failure to tell MPs about new intelligence correcting these claims, and then Mr. Blair entered into a secret agreement with President George W. Bush to go to war without the consent of the Cabinet, Parliament, or the British people. Oh, impeach his ass, baby. I love it. And then pass it by the Queen. and see if you can put a fork in it. Oh, speaking of that, Governor Bush suspends Miami Commissioner Art Thiel Jr. See this?
Yeah.
Our fat-ass governor? A city commissioner accused of trying to run an unmarked police car off the road was suspended yesterday by fat-ass Governor Jeb Bush. Art Thiel Jr., 58, was suspended indefinitely without pay in a proclamation issued by Bush's communication office. Well, the good news is Art Thiel's suspended, but Hank's coming back. How do you like that? See, it's a trade-off you have to pay. I guarantee you Hank's got a bigger ass than Art Thiel Jr., don't you think?
Let's get the calipers.
Thiel was arrested August 26th on charges of aggravated assault with a motor vehicle and threatening a public official, both felonies, yada, yada, yada. He was elected city commissioner in 97, Dade County commissioner before then. The commissioner was under investigation and surveillance for all. We know all about this, okay? About the threat and about he's going to do this and blah, blah. Bush routinely suspends election officials who are charged with felonies. So Art Thiel Jr., you're out, okay? You're in suspended sentence for the time being. 5670560. We can get a few calls in between now and 2. I actually got almost to the bottom of my pile.
All right.
I got only 3 more things on here, as a matter of fact. Although I could, well, we'll see. WQAM, hello. QAM.
Yeah, I was calling Neil.
Speaking.
Hey, Neil, how are you? QC, Queens Court. You of all people should know that, right?
Oh, yeah, I should know about them Queens, man, because most of them are...
No, because you're up in Toronto. You know that.
Oh, Queens Court?
Yeah, it's the Canadian same legal system.
We got a lot of Queens here, you're right. Okay, thanks, Pally.
Sure, bye.
Queens Court, that's what that QC is. See this audience, man?
Right.
People think this audience are just a bunch of mouth-breathing idiots, man. Those are the callers, most of them.
It's
but this guy, he's like,
pool of knowledge.
You know what it is? We get some pretty good info, like once in a while, like the fact that it's 3 hours ahead of time on the West Coast. Oh, man, how embarrassing. But we had somebody perspicacious enough to realize that I made an ass of myself there and faxed me right away. I said, oh, yeah, ask for a day again. I mean, anybody can be queen for a day, but nothing like being ass for a day, right? WQAM, hello. Not there. They probably all call to tell me about QC. QAM, hello.
Did you say free tickets?
No, I said 3 tickets, and they're all gone. See, I got to articulate better. He thought I said free tickets. I said 3 tickets. They're $500 a piece, by the way. WQAM, hello.
Hey, Neil, how are you?
Pretty good.
Listen, I listen to your show. You make me laugh. You've done it for a lot of years. And you know what? I really like the fact that you've informed me a lot about the politics over the last couple of months anyways. It's kind of swayed my opinion on Bush. And I really appreciate the information, and I enjoy it as well as I know George said he did. So thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Pally. Vote several times, please.
All right.
Okay. See, there you go. There's some people out there. I mean, I don't want to get too heavy with the news stuff, and I realize like a day like today, I'm way overboard. But the fact of the matter is, it's 5.5 weeks till Election Day, and the concept of another 4 years of these lying Nazi thief bastards, these born-again fundamentalist lunatics running, they put the U in running the country. They made it ruining, not running. Mm-hmm. And I just let me say it again. I said this in 2000. I'll say it again. Unless you happen to be a wealthy, I mean super wealthy white person, male, loaded with cash, and or a fundamentalist lunatic religionist, whether it's Christian, Orthodox, Jew, one of those people, a fundamentalist lunatic, I can't imagine why in the world you'd be voting for these bastards. I just don't get it.
And they don't really benefit the religionists. They just think they do.
And let me say it again. This Iraq attack hasn't made us safer. It hasn't made the world safer from terrorism. It's turned Iraq into a hotbed of terrorism. There's insanity going on there. And even Alawi, who was there before Congress today and holding his big press conference with the Bushmeister, admits that there are terrorists from all over the world now. It's like a meeting place, meeting and greeting for every lunatic terrorist organization. They're beheading Americans and Britain and others, innocent people, almost every day now. There's crap going down. And in the meantime, do we have Osama?
No.
Do we have Mullah Omar?
No.
Al-Zarqawi?
No.
Any of these people? No. So, like Kerry is saying, we've taken our eye off the ball, baby. We're busy fighting and creating in a place where we shouldn't have been in the first freaking place. Like even little Volker Bryan said, he sent the freaking bombers the wrong way.
You're listening to Neil Rogers exclusively on 560 QAM.
Back in the day when someone done us wrong, we didn't take their crap. In Pearl Harbor, when the Japs dropped their bombs, we bombed them back. And now the Saudis, they hit us hard.
and on our cars our little flags wave. At that body loving retard points the bombers the wrong way. And I'm embarrassed to be an American where they follow Bush like sheep. The United States of arrogance, led by Bush and his family, greed they got this country. Ambling towards the darkest days in our history. I don't want to be a Pax American in the USA. What's a few thousand innocent lives? Stop living in the past. If you want that SUV to drive, you're gonna need more gas. It's the greatest country in the world. They train us to believe. And anyone who says that obviously can't afford to leave. And I'm embarrassed to be an American where we patriotically wave a flag in one hand with our head in the sand and blindly follow the powers that be. Apathetic. Watching state-run news on a 65-inch screen. Scratch your fart, everything's okay. In the USA.
Yep. I'll come back now. 27:02, we got the Mad Dog at 2, and then at 4, we got Hurricanes game day. Hurricanes in Houston will be on Power 96. Marlins are running out the string, I guess you could say, right?
Must be talking to you, Josh. What's that?
No, I'm just talking out loud. I'm thinking out loud. I said the Marlins are running out the string.
Oh, yeah, they're done.
Because even though it's not mathematical, they got 4 teams ahead of it. Just unfortunately all over. They gave it a good shot. They gave it a run, but then it kind of like ran out of gas. Let's get Steely Dan. Danny Schechter writes, and let me say it again, the Humper comes back tomorrow at 4. Oh, man. I'm ready to go out and, squeeze myself right out there in the street corner. Danny Schechter writes in Newsday, CBS's most popular program, CSI, can now investigate a crime scene close to home. The reputation of veteran news anchor Dan Rather is lying on the floor, bloodied by a mistake he has now admitted, flanked on the political right by We Told You So finger pointers, led by GOP operatives demanding his head. A news outlet once headed by the most trusted man in America is accused of being the least trustworthy. They're talking about Walter Cronkite, for those of you punks. With Rather apologizing for airing a story based in part on memos that CBS cannot verify, it looks bad for network news in general, and critics of President George W. Bush in particular, and that fits the MO of the people behind the hit. The story that 60 Minutes ran, charging that Bush had not completed his Texas National Guard duties, now been pronounced a mistake. CBS News added that a source had misled the network on the document's origins. The network promised an independent review of how the report was prepared to help determine what actions need to be taken. Over at Fox News, they were breaking out the champagne when the admission of error came down from BlackRock. Fox, of course, has its own wink-wink standards and never makes mistakes worth acknowledging. Their playbook in this regard feeds and follows a well-established White House approach. When confronted by unwelcome truths, avoid them, deny them, or tarnish the critic. Fox News branded this dust-up a scandal, a Rathergate, using a familiar change the subject tactic to deflect attention away from persuasive charges that President Bush has not told the truth about his military service. Allegations about a medium misdemeanor were quickly blown up into a felony, demanding Rather's career termination with prejudice. The right-wing attack machine works by personalizing issues and demonizing enemies with overheated language and cartoon-like characterizations. Osama, the evildoer bin Laden, gave way to Saddam, the butcher of Baghdad Hussein, and now John, the phony war hero Kerry, has been displaced with a lather over rather. It's a textbook example of how attacks against journalists are used to denigrate news, not to the right-wing's liking, by planting items in the media food chain and cranking up an echo chamber of feigned indignation. The Republican National Committee operates its own 24/7 anti-news network to monitor coverage and orchestrate a rapid response. Salon reports that the story casting doubt on the documents was first pushed into the news stream by Creative Response Concepts, a Republican public relations firm. Then selected bloggers went to work, led by an Atlanta lawyer who helped get President Clinton disbarred and was the first who called the memos fakes. His charges spread like a prairie fire through the rabid conservative grapevine at Amen Corner. The goal focused the media on Rather, not Bush. CBS initially stood by the documents, then hedged, saying that even if they were flawed, the story that Bush had disobeyed his commander's orders to have a physical was accurate in essence, but it finally had to concede it was a mistake to run the story. It's possible that CBS was flim-flam, but TV's need for visuals did them in. By trying to gussy up the story with what producers call video enhancement elements, 60 Minutes fell on its own sword, opening itself up to attack. Other leading news outlets, including the BBC, ran the same story about Bush's troubles in the Guard without being discredited. Dan Rather's been a punching bag of the right ever since he was targeted for being rude to President Richard Nixon 30 years ago.
About 30, man.
Conservative journalists accused him of fudging footage from Afghanistan in the 1980s when he took over the anchor chair of high-salaried $6 million man. Some conservatives tried to buy CBS with the promise they would fire Dan Rather the day the Tiffany Network became theirs. His critics pictured him as the poster boy of their hated liberal media. The irony is that he doesn't fit the stereotype. Rather has a super-patriotic persona. A day after 9/11, he went on the David Letterman show to proclaim his willingness to do whatever his president ordered. On September 22, 2001, he said he would give the administration the benefit of every doubt. When a pre-war interview with Saddam Hussein in Baghdad raised eyebrows, he tacked hard right in his war reporting, for which he later won the Conservative Media Research Center's top prize for best network coverage. Don't write Rather off. He's had more media lives than the Republican Guard that wants to bury him. He's just this week's poster boy for the sins and screw-ups of an imagined liberal media. Pretty good stuff, huh? Not too bad, I would say. 5670560, pound 560 on the Verizon Wireless and Singular Wireless line. If I'm thumping around here, because my computer froze up, so I'm having to, unfreeze it now.
Now what?
No, I mean, it's coming back. You don't think I'm just going to sit here in a deep freeze, do you? Here's the poll result right now. We got 700. What do you mean, so now what? What does that mean? 726 votes. In other words, you don't think I could do the show without the computer?
You can.
Pretty good point, I think. Anyway, who's most to blame for the Dolphins' sorry season, sorry team, a bunch of crap? Dave Wanstead. It's the Wanstead era, not going over too big. 260, man, they hate him like poison. I don't give a Schmidt, 148. H. Wayne Heising, 112. The offensive line, 61. I hate the Dolphins, 46. Mo Howard-David's got 39. Which we'll get to that in a second. Ricky Williams, 34. Rick the Spielmeister, the GM, 19. Clueless. Jay Fiedler, 4. And poor A.J. Touchy-Feely's only got 3 out of 726. Now, speaking of Mo Howard-David, let's see, we got the Hurricanes game today, right? So there's no afternoon sports show at 4. We got that stuff, the pregame, the foreplay. And then the Humper, thank goodness, returns tomorrow. Where does that leave my good friend Mo? Huh?
I don't know.
In the dark?
Absolutely.
Out in the cold?
Absolutely.
Huh? In suspended animation?
Absolutely.
You're listening to Neil Rogers exclusively on 560 QAM.
Absolutely.
Oh, what is it?
We got a call here. The number one rated Mo Howard and David in his own. At least according to my aspirations. Stay away from me. I don't even know how you have children. Miramar, hello.
Yes, I want to take on Jay Fiedler.
Oh, well, Jay Fiedler is a great quarterback and a good Jew.
I like Jay Fiedler.
Well, not to mention he's got extraordinarily smooth buttocks.
Oh, yeah!
But you gotta be careful what you say here.
Oh, Tito, thank you, Mo.
No, wait a minute, don't go.
But I have nothing else to say.
Well, how about this? How's the weather down there in the Miramar?
I'm right down the street from you.
Oh, yeah.
I have to go.
Oh, wait, by the way, something.
No, I have to go.
Look, I tell you what, I'll hold you over a break. How's that, huh? I'll give you one of my old tank T-shirts. How's that? No, wait! That was the only caller we had.
The veins on your nose is glowing again. Wow! You got big purple veins on your nose and on your face, and around those oozing pimples you call if you go look in the mirror, you'll see a roadmap of Ypsilanti. You got your hippies on, way too tight.
My nose glows when something stings. Almost every day I think. And my veins, they start to tickle. My adenoid, yeah, I look like a bull in a bag. That's because I'm a cranky old bag. With a nose that's filled with purple veins. Nothing like that you want to see. I'll tell you joyful Try to sing
Wow. I sit and listen to his bits, and I listen to almost every line. And you just shake your head and you marvel. The ramblings of a sick, twisted mind, Book O'Brien. That's why we're going to dedicate tomorrow to him.
Right.
He's still out of town, I hope, right?
No, he's, no, you know what? I don't know if he's back in town yet.
Let's hope he's out of town. We don't want him to get like a swelled head.
That would be swell.
Well, it wouldn't hold up on that old chicken neck. Larry in Miami says, I just want to tell you I love the show, and of course, what's not to like, Larry, and I wanted to weigh in on the Cat Stevens incident. Every media I watched this morning focused on the same issue, that someone on a much-touted traveler watch list was able to board a plane, leaving corrective actions to be taken while the flight was in midair. While commentators were admittedly frightened by what seemed like a fault in our system of protection, a more frightening failure was overlooked. What prompted the placement of Cat Stevens on the watch list in the first place? A religious affiliation? A name change? Perhaps the one-time espousal of an unpopular opinion? Perhaps the wrong headgear? That might have been it. Okay?
There's no doubt.
Larry says what truly frightens me is the fact that in this day and age I may be held suspect for simply speaking my mind.
Absolutely correct, sir.
Keep on rocking in the police state, says Larry in Miami. Okay, that's right. They might just hold you because you give them a dirty look, because you might vote the wrong way. You look like you got the wrong headgear on, right?
No question.
And of course they were talking about the Taliban measuring men's beards, and they had to be a certain length and up to a certain standard. What's the difference? And, of course, the Taliban with the radio, the music that they played, and you couldn't do this and couldn't do that. And here in America, we got the booby police. We got the 5 blind mice there on the FCC, lunatics, crazy people, like that. And then you got, of course, John Ashcroft, who's beyond, he's so far beyond anything we've ever seen before. Not to mention Tom Ridgett. You see Ridgett on there talking about Cat Stevens and how that serious look he had on his face, like, oh, yeah, and we've had his name on. We don't care whether it's a celebrity or just some ordinary schlumper off the street. I was really impressed when Tom Ridgett, going like that, said schlumper. Did you think it was pretty cute?
I didn't see it.
He didn't say schlumper. He would know a schlumper from... At any rate, Tom Ridge, if you ask me, that'd be a good poll one day. Who is the definitive goy, John Ashcroft or Tom Ridge? Huh?
That's a good poll.
Think about that. Ponder that. While you're picking lint out of your navel. 148, while you're cotton picking, okay? And, man, the thing with Hank coming back tomorrow, that may offer a little ray of hope, that maybe we're coming back to sanity again, and that sanity and rationality will prevail. What do you think? We don't want to overdo it.
One step at a time.
Because our audience isn't used to that. We don't want to have too many things on the air that you enjoy or that you like. So we want to, do it slowly, just kind of step back in very slowly. 12 minutes till 2. I know you like the Mad Dog.
All right.
What's not to like? He'll be along at 2. And then we got a lot of hurricane stuff. We got the Marlin stuff. We got sports up the old dial is what we got. Right now, Armstrong Ford Homestead wants to clear their lots and sell off all remaining 04s. And here are just some of the great deals waiting for you at Armstrong as I speak. An 04 F-150 pickup, you pay just $1 over invoice. New 04 Explorers, you pay only $1 over invoice. Rangers, not to be confused with the New York Rangers who are waiting out. Rangers, Crown Vics, Tauruses, and Focuses all waiting for you at just $1 over invoice right now only at Armstrong Ford Homestead. Plus, Armstrong Ford offers more value to its loyal customers, too. When you buy your Ford from Armstrong Ford, you'll get their exclusive Tires and Batteries for Life program. You heard me right, Tires and Batteries for Life. The value you'll get Armstrong Ford doesn't stop there either, because right now you can get you a free Florida Sun Pass with any vehicle you buy. If you're pressed for time, Armstrong Ford knows your time is valuable, so call this number and shop by phone, 305-247-5112. 247-5112. They'll even deliver your new vehicle to you right where you're hanging it out. Armstrong Ford Homestead, they're locally owned and operated. They treat you just like family, and you won't get a better deal anywhere in town on a great Ford. No bait and switch, no phony deals. It's Armstrong Ford Homestead at 30725 South Dixie Highway, just 20 minutes south of the 836. Check them on the web at ArmstrongCars.com. You just drive a little and save a ton on that new Ford only from our friends at Armstrong Ford of Homestead.
You're listening to Neil Rogers exclusively on 560 QAM.
The honey, Junior. Hello, this is Albert Qaeda from Taliban Records, inviting you American infidel to buy latest Cat Stevens collection.
You know Muhammad is right. Let's take your head off your body. Got a machete with a real sharp blade. How I wish I had an American hostage.
much. Make those infidels pay.
Also including this classic.
I was on the airplane and suddenly was detained. They're mad 'cause I converted and wear a towel on my head. I'm being followed by an F-16. What do they want with me?
The money from your purchase does not go to fund terrorism, really.
It's not time to get off the plane. Just relax and take it easy. You're just dumb, that's your fault. It wouldn't happen if I were a Jew. Fine dark skin and a rag if you want a detainee.
Another variation on a classic.
I ask myself every day, which American should pay? Tell me, who would Muhammad slay? I'm cutting through the neck of a woman. She lifted her veil and exposed herself.
So buy new Cat Stevens collection today for $19.95. Or you can pay with Visa, MasterCard, or weapons of mass destruction.
Now, you know, it won't be long before Joan Baez is going to be next, right? I knew as soon as he started with that peace train crap, it was just a subterfuge, camouflage.
Man,
right?
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Just like that outfit he was wearing, it was just kind of a cover-up. I mentioned this in passing, but we don't want to gloss over the Terry's Law thing, do we?
Gloss over it? No, don't. Read it.
And I don't think that it unfortunately, it's another one of those stories that never ends. I thought because the way they presented it on the Certainly Not News Network was, well, the Florida Supreme Court ruled, and therefore that's the end. Well, of course, it's never the end.
No.
If I were the husband, I'd run in there and pull that tube out right now.
She's going to outlive us all.
Yeah, she'll be around long after fat-ass Governor Jeb Bush is pushing up daffodils. The Florida Supreme Court ruled today that Terry's Law is well, let me say it again. They ruled that it's unconstitutional. And that Governor Jeb Bush, fat-ass Governor Jeb Bush, should not have been given the power to reinsert the feeding tube to Terry Schiavo. In its unanimous ruling, the state's highest court said the law violated the separation of powers between the judicial, legislative, and executive branch, and that the Florida legislature improperly delegated power to the governor, the Führer of Florida. I mean, if it's good enough for his brother, why ain't it good enough for him, right?
Right.
We recognize the tragic circumstances underlying this case make it difficult to put emotions aside and focus solely on the legal issue presented, wrote Chief Justice Barbara Pariente, who authored the opinion. We are not insensitive to the struggle that all members of Teresa's family have endured since she fell unconscious in 1990. Don't you dare play that Chula thing where he says, I just wasn't conscious.
All right. Oh, you want me to find it like that?
However, we are a nation of laws. We must govern.
Well, I just wasn't conscious.
Oh, man. I can't believe you did that. That would be as bad as playing.
Oh my God! It's a severed head!
Anyway, however, we are a nation of laws and must govern our decisions by the rule of law, not by our own emotions. Our hearts can fully comprehend the grief so fully demonstrated by Teresa's family members on this record, the ruling went on, but our hearts are not the law. What is in the Constitution always must prevail over emotion. Our oath as judges require that this principle is our pole star and it alone. Our pole star. What the hell is that?
Don't ask me.
P-O-L-E-S-T-A-R, our pole star. In other words, like we're looking up in the sky and there's the shining pole. There's the three wise men.
Oh, the one that doesn't move?
And there's some of that frankincense. Oh, no, it's John Kerry. Don't he look a little like frankincense? Or Stein? Anyway, it says it was not a... Now, see, this is the thing that bothers me, because once you think this is finally over with, let's go down to some important business, okay? This is a private matter. Get the government, get the freaking fat-ass governor out of it. And every time you think it's over, it's like they never stop. It's always that little opening. It was not immediately clear whether Bush would go to federal court to attempt to appeal the ruling by the state Supreme Court, or how soon it would be when Terry Schiavo's feeding tube would be removed. The court did give each side in the dispute 10 days from today to ask for a rehearing in the case. But because it was a unanimous vote, it would be kind of like a waste of time, right?
Right.
So probably fat-ass Governor Jeb will be rushing out of the Supreme Court. He's probably on the phone with Clarence Token Thomas right now, telling that, hey, guess what? My brother's wife, the First Lady, she knows where to get some really good Schmidt. Wouldn't you think? How do you like that?
Yeah.
This prim-ass bitch, huh? Our First Lady indeed. Oh, pretty tough on the First Lady, Neil, right? Yeah, right. Phony baloney, man. Phony baloney. Have you ever noticed the long list of, between Lard-ass Limbaugh, who wants to put all the other druggies beside himself in the Hoosgow, and Jimmy Swaggart, and Jim Baker and Tammy Faye, and now we got Paul and what's her name, Jan Crotch, Paul the Crotch Problemmeister. All the same, all these right-wing goody two-shoes, holier than thou, whether it's what's his name, that fat-ass Henry Hyde from Illinois, all of them. Bobby Livingston, who am I forgetting about? All a bunch of phonies. When somebody tells you that they're better than you are and that they're holier than thou and that they're more righteous, you know what that means? It means they're a pervert. It means their closet is just overflowing. They got skeletons in there that haven't even been born yet, is what it really means. So don't be giving us your song and dance, okay? Get out of our face. Get out of our puss, you lunatics, including those 5 on the FCC. Censorship. They're trying to knock me off before the end of the show. If I were you, I would tell Clarence before you go home. Have another chat with them and tell them that this baby is on the way out, okay? I mean, it is showing signs of, which if they want me to take, a few days while they think about setting a replacement piece of equipment, that would be just fine. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
I mean...
Oh, we're fine.
Right. Okay, Mad Dog is standing by. Here's the last tally now. Who is most to blame for the Dolphins' sorry team? 790 votes. Dave Wannstedt. I don't think they like his mustache. 285. They don't like the Wannstedt era so far. I don't give a Schmidt. 158. The timing could be perfect. He might just die right at 2 o'clock. H. Wayne Heisinger, 120. The offensive line, 66. I hate the Dolphins, 49. Mo Howard David did 43. Ricky Williams, 38. Rick Spielmeister, 23. Jay Fiedler's got 5, although he's kind of laying out these days, and that's the way it goes. And poor A.J. Touchy-Feely, man. Talk about being thrown into the lion's den. A.J. Touchy-Feely, last place, only 3. They don't blame me, A.J., although you are ugly as sin. Anyway, we got the Mad Dog coming up next, all the hurricane stuff coming up at 4 o'clock after that. And the good news, spread it around town, the Humper. The Humper returns at 4 tomorrow.
Bye. Our Stern Show. Neil Rogers is sports around the clock. Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
And by the way, I got to look for something else to do.